Chapter 106. Even if the blue dog fox wolf had intelligence that was not inferior to humans, it would never have thought that the magical beast it had tamed would betray its master. At the moment of life and death, it exploded with unprecedented power and retreated. It retreated without regard for anything, even if its tail was pulled off by Zhen Jin's Caliceri. Its left eye was still stuck on Zhen Jin's scorpion tail, and the blue dog fox wolf's violent movements caused a strong stream of blood to flow out of its left eye socket. Woof woof! The blue dog fox wolf, who was heavily injured, fell into a violent rage and roared angrily. The surrounding magical beasts woke up one by one and surrounded Zhen Jin originally thought that he could shoot the blue dog fox wolf from its left eye and directly pierce its brain, killing it in one shot. But he did not expect that the blue dog fox wolf, under the stimulation of death, would explode with such godly speed and reaction speed. So much so that Zhen only destroyed one of the blue dog fox wolf's eyes. The monkey-tailed brown bear fiercely pounced over, and Zhen could only give up on chasing the blue dog fox wolf and dodge to the side. The strong white rhinoceros also launched a charge, and Zhen swung his scorpion tail and assassinated a bronze flying squirrel, narrowly brushing past the strong white rhinoceros. Zhen had been entangled with these two silver-ranked magical beasts for a long time, and now the scorpion shell was full of wounds. The silver-ranked scorpion shell was very hard, but in front of the strong white rhinoceros and the monkey-tailed brown bear, he could not rely too much on it. Many of the attacks could not be taken head-on, so the choice to dodge was a wise one. The eruption of the magical beast army was like a tidal wave, drowning Zhen. Zhen fought his way out with great difficulty and then ran away. Magical beasts were everywhere in his field of vision. If he were to chase after the blue dog fox wolf now, he would be digging his own grave. Woof, woof, woof! The blue dog fox wolf barked madly, the flames of vengeance burning fiercely. The magical beast army was in hot pursuit of Zhen. Zhen felt troubled. He was not good at using the spear scorpion to escape, especially when the forest and rocks appeared frequently, forcing him to constantly change directions. Running in a straight line was fine, but turning at such a high speed would often cause Zhen to overturn. If the car flipped, Zhen would not be able to flip back in an instant. In front of the monkey-tailed brown bear and the strong-life white rhinoceros, they had become living targets. Zhen could only go all out, but in the process of turning, he could not avoid a sharp drop in speed. A black steel flying squirrel took advantage of this opportunity to pounce on Zhen's back. It burst out with a strong electric current, instantly paralyzing Zhen. The strong-life white rhinoceros arrived soon after and raised its head. The rhinoceros horn pierced the bottom of the golden needle's body and sent him flying high into the air. He flew over the crowns of several trees before falling down. The black steel flying squirrel's electric discharge would cause a huge disturbance to Zhen. The bat monkeys were also a threat. Woof, woof, woof! The blue dog fox wolf barked again. In the next moment, the black steel bat monkeys in the air burst out with sound waves at the same time. The spear scorpion Zhen fell all the way down, breaking countless branches. The sound waves enveloped him, making him even more dizzy. But the rest of the magical beasts were in a worse situation. The flying squirrels were completely paralyzed in place, letting out miserable cries. Some were directly killed on the spot by the sound waves. The rhinoceros and the bear were also affected. The monkey-tailed brown bear stopped in place, using the palms of its hands to cover its ears. The strong-life white rhinoceros could withstand the sound waves, but its charging speed was reduced by half. The blue dog fox wolf was very agitated after narrowly escaping death. At this moment, its mind was filled with killing Zhen, this monster that it could not understand, to the extent that it lost its usual calmness. The whole magical beast army was also in chaos. Zhen finally landed on the ground. His back was on the ground, and for a moment, he could not turn over. The young knight hurriedly activated his core, turning himself into an acid green lizard. This was something he had thought through carefully. The silver spear scorpion's form was the strongest, and its defense was the most outstanding. But in the forest there were trees, rocks, and bulging tree roots, etc. Jinjin could not run fast at all. The bat monkey's movement speed was the fastest, but they were only bronze ranked. If they were surrounded, they would be torn apart by the bat monkeys. There was no need for the monkey-tail brown bear or the strong-life white rhinoceros to act. The lizard form was not the strongest, but it was not weak either. It was stronger than the bronze-ranked bat monkeys. It was easier for Jinjin to control this form than the spear scorpion. When he ran, he was not affected by the forest environment, and the lizard form, compared to the spear scorpion form, consumed less energy from the magic crystal. Just like that, Jinjin directly turned into an acid green lizard. The sound waves still made him feel quite uncomfortable. The acid green lizard also had good hearing. However, the bat monkeys and the strong-life white rhinoceros that came to kill him had lost their target. After Jinjin completely transformed, they did not see the spear scorpion. With their intelligence, even if they saw the process of Jinjin's transformation, they would not be able to understand. To deal with magical beasts, I can transform into other forms. This way, their target will disappear. Jinjin discovered another wonderful use of the core. This was the benefit of using it in practice. He could discover good things that could not be discovered during deduction and training. Of course, if the blue dog fox wolf saw this scene, it would definitely target the acid green lizard. The blue dog fox wolf isn't dead yet. Now, the entire magical beast army has rushed over. The blue dog fox wolf side is very empty. I can go around them and kill the blue dog fox wolf again. Jinjin was undaunted. Although he had failed once, it made his fighting spirit even stronger. He immediately started to move. Woof, woof, woof. But in the next moment, the blue dog fox wolf's barks were heard again. This time, after the magical beast army received the order, the black steel bat monkeys stopped emitting sound waves. The bat monkeys scattered and began to kill all life. The little squirrels, the birds in the forest, the rats, ants, snakes, and so on were all killed. The strong-life white rhinoceros and the monkey-tail brown bear rushed over and joined in the massacre. I feel like this blue dog fox wolf is going crazy. Jinjin sighed. It had to be said that the blue dog fox wolf's crazy orders had indeed caused Jinjin trouble. The acid green lizard was the biggest target here. Many of the bat monkeys pounced on Jinjin. A round bump quickly appeared on Jinjin's neck. The round bump slid up and into Jinjin's lizard mouth. His lizard mouth opened wide and shot out balls of corrosive acid. The acid accurately hit the bat monkeys pouncing on him. The bat monkeys immediately screamed and fell to the ground. Their wings were first corroded into skeletons. Their fur was also affected. After the corrosion, a burst of scorched smoke rose, and the smell was unbearable. Then, their flesh was also corroded and turned into pus. Their pale white bones were exposed and visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths, these bat monkeys were all dead. The bat monkeys were frightened and hesitated. They did not take the initiative to charge at Jinjin to die. The blue dog fox wolf's control over the bat monkeys is rapidly weakening. Needlework was keenly aware of this. To him, this was a pretty good outcome. After all, he had just transformed and only half of the acid had been stored. Even if he used it all on the bat monkeys, he would not be able to kill them all. The monkey-tailed bear and the strong white rhinoceros caught up. Jinjin's current speed was about the same as theirs. He ran in circles while shooting acid at them. The bear and the rhinoceros were both very large and unavoidably took a lot of hits. But they were still silver-ranked magical beasts. The corrosive effect of the acid was not ideal. The monkey-tailed bear was shot in the thigh and quickly staggered. Its speed dropped again and again, and the rhinoceros's surface was thick leather or horny layer. The acid's effect was very poor. Jinjin shook off the monkey-tailed bear, but he still could not shake off the strong white rhinoceros. While running, Jinjin suddenly had an idea. He shot acid forward, and the acid hit the tree trunk in front of him. After the tree trunk was corroded, it quickly dissolved into a large hole. The tall trees began to slowly fall. Jinjin quickly ran past this dangerous area. But when the rhinoceros arrived, the ground shook more violently and the trees fell one after another. At least 8 trees fell. Some fell directly on the rhinoceros's back, while others blocked the rhinoceros's path. The rhinoceros did not know how to jump while running. It could only take a detour or simply charge through the trees. No matter what it chose, it would not be able to catch up to Jinjin in a short period of time. Jinjin rushed to the blue dog fox wolf's position in his memory. Woof, woof, woof. The blue dog fox wolf's barks came from the forest. The bat monkeys, the bear, the rhinoceros, and the flying squirrel that had finally recovered began to close in on the blue dog fox wolf. Jinjin's plan to kill the rhinoceros was ruined because of this change. It calmed down. It seems to have sensed my intentions. Jinjin was extremely regretful as he watched the magical beast army wrap around the blue dog fox wolf and escape. Should I chase? Jinjin hesitated. At this moment, the sun was slowly setting in the sky. The sunset was like fire, shining on the green lizard Jinjin's face and also on the messy battlefield. It was this messy battlefield in front of him that made Jinjin make up his mind again. Chase. If he let the blue dog fox wolf live, the threat would be too great. He did not want the camp to become as messy and broken as this battlefield one day. Jinjin moved his forelegs and chased after the blue dog fox wolf. But just as he was about to leave the battlefield, he stopped in his tracks. He came in front of the magical beast army's rations. The blue dog fox wolf had escaped in too much of a hurry and did not have time to bring these rations. Most of these rations were the corpses of flying squirrels and bat monkeys, followed by a pile of ores. This was the monkey-tail brown bear's food. Jinjin activated his heart core and absorbed all of the corpses and transformed them. The magic energy in his heart core was instantly replenished and brought about some qualitative changes. I can now completely transform into a bronze flying squirrel, and my bat monkey form has also been upgraded to dark iron level. After doing all this, Jinjin continued to chase after the rhinoceros. The blue dog fox wolf was heavily injured, and the intense running caused it to bleed profusely. Along the way, Jinjin saw the blue dog fox wolf's trail of blood. After the magical beast army retreated for some distance, the blue dog fox wolf stopped to rest. Every time the lizard Jinjin chased after them, the bat monkeys would become restless and let out warning cries. The blue dog fox wolf had no choice but to run again and exercise violently. Jinjin realized that every time he got close to the magical beast army, the army would quickly retreat and not let Jinjin get close. Jinjin understood. It's very afraid of me now. It also knows that I'm chasing after it. The bat monkeys have ultrasonic detection. It seems that I can't really get close to it in this lizard form. The fat ball flying fish won't work either. Although I can turn invisible, the bat monkeys can still detect me with ultrasonic detection. Also, the fat ball flying fish can make squawking sounds. Chapter 107. Jinjin thought for a moment and turned into a black steel bat monkey again. Next, he did not run directly towards the magical beast army. Instead, he went in diagonally, pretending to be a lonely wild bat monkey that happened to pass by. This time, the bat monkeys did not warn him. The blue dog fox wolf stayed where it was. Jinjin gradually approached the magical beast army. Some bat monkeys were leaving the army and going into the surrounding forest. The blue dog fox wolf is heavily injured. It looks like it doesn't have the energy to replenish the scent of these bat monkeys. The bat monkeys are losing control. After Jinjin realized this, he was naturally happy. The bat monkeys' activities became unrestrained, and the situation became chaotic. This gave Jinjin an opportunity to take advantage of. Soon, Jinjin flew into the magical beast army without raising any alarm. He found that the entire magical beast army was divided into 3 lines of defense. The outermost line was made up of ordinary bat monkeys and flying squirrels. The middle line was made up of bat monkeys and flying squirrels. The innermost line was made up of the brown monkey bear and the strong white rhinoceros. The two silver magical beasts surrounded and protected the blue dog fox wolf in the middle. They were loyal and meticulous. Jinjin noticed that the wound caused by the acid on the brown monkey bear's thigh had stabilized, and the strong white rhinoceros body was almost unscathed. Its recovery ability was too strong. As for Jinjin's target, the blue dog fox wolf, it was lying on the ground. Even its head was resting on the grass. It was extremely weak. Its left eye had completely become a bloody hole. A black steel bat monkey was in front of the bloody hole. It blocked one of its nostrils and used the other nostrils to send out ultrasonic waves to stop the bleeding for the blue dog fox wolf. But the blood did not stop. The blood that flowed out of the eye had a hint of green. Could it be that the poison of the green-spotted moss is very effective on the blue dog fox wolf and can prevent the wound from healing? Jinjin could not help but guess. The black steel bat monkey that was treating the blue dog fox wolf could not hold on any longer. The ultrasound was getting weaker and weaker. The blue dog fox wolf was furious. It suddenly opened its mouth and bit the black steel bat monkey's neck, killing it on the spot. After that, the blue dog fox wolf used its front paws to dig into the corpse of the black steel bat monkey and began to eat. A black steel bat monkey was quickly eaten by it. Woof woof. The blue dog fox wolf barked and used its remaining eye to look at a black steel bat monkey in the middle of the defensive line. The black steel bat monkey immediately went to the blue dog fox wolf's side and used ultrasound to treat the blue dog fox wolf's wounds. After a period of treatment, the bleeding did not slow down at all. The blue dog fox wolf was furious and ate the black steel bat monkey. Seeing the black steel bat monkey die in front of their eyes, the other bat monkeys were restless, ready to make a move. The blue dog fox wolf's control over them was getting weaker and weaker. Jinjin immediately realized, this might be my chance. If he suddenly turned into a gun scorpion and attacked, the chances of killing the blue dog fox wolf were not high. It was very likely that the previous battle would be reenacted. However, he could disguise himself as a bat monkey. Once the blue dog fox wolf chose him to treat itself, Jinjin could get close to the blue dog fox wolf again. At that time, with the distance being so short and the blue dog fox wolf being so weak, Jinjin could turn into a gun scorpion and assassinate again. That would be a sure thing. While the blue dog fox wolf was busy tearing apart the food, Jinjin quietly flew to the second line of defense. The second line of defense was made up of bat monkeys and flying squirrels. Some of them were standing on top of several bat monkeys, while others were lying on the ground. Jinjin did not stand out among them. But after waiting for a while, the blue dog fox wolf did not choose him. The black steel bat monkeys could not heal the blue dog fox wolf's wounds, and blood continued to flow out. The blue dog fox wolf was not only angry, but also panicked. It killed another 3 bat monkeys. Why didn't they choose me? Jinjin was a little depressed. He saw the bat monkeys around him healing each other and could not help but guess. Could it be that the blue dog fox wolf only chose the bat monkeys that have successfully healed their companions? Jinjin stood still and did not act rashly. This kind of quiet performance did not enter the eyes of the blue dog fox wolf. Jinjin pondered for a moment and felt that his guess was very reasonable. He looked around and ran to the side of a black steel bat monkey. This black steel bat monkey's back was injured. When it saw Jinjin run to its side, it immediately looked at him strangely. Jinjin first cleared his throat, then plugged one of his nostrils and put the other nostrils near the target bat monkey's wound. When the injured black steel bat monkey saw Jinjin's action, it immediately relaxed, and its eyes showed some gratitude. You must succeed in using the ultrasonic wave. Jinjin silently encouraged himself. He was not familiar with this, and out of 10 times, he would fail 5 to 6 times. But fortunately, he succeeded this time. The ultrasonic wave was released, but Jinjin did not close his mouth, causing the sound waves to come out of his mouth and bombard the bat monkey in his hands. The bat monkey's body shook violently, its ears buzzing, and its vision blurred. At this moment, it felt as if a thunderclap had suddenly sounded in the ears of a normal person. The surrounding bat monkeys were also shocked by Zhen Jin's actions. They all jumped or flew, distancing themselves from Zhen Jin. The injured bat monkey steadied itself and angrily stared at Zhen Jin, screaming. It was furious. Even though Zhen Jin did not know the bat monkey's language, he completely understood what the injured bat monkey meant. Zhen Jin quickly glanced at the blue dog fox wolf and found that it was still eating the black steel bat monkey's meat and was not paying attention to what was going on. Zhen Jin silently said, "Calm, calm." At the same time, he reached out and pressed down on the injured bat monkey's shoulder. The injured bat monkey shook off Zhen Jin's arm and ran away alone. Zhen Jin helplessly watched it run away and could only choose another target. But when the other bat monkeys saw Zhen Jin approaching, they took the initiative to leave. In short, they did not want to be treated by Zhen Jin. Where's the basic trust between monkeys? Zhen Jin was distressed. At this moment, the blue dog fox wolf chose another bat monkey and ignored Zhen Jin again. Got it. Zhen Jin looked at the ground and suddenly had an idea. He landed on the ground and used ultrasound to detect the food underground. Soon, he found his target and began to dig the soil with his hands. After a while, he dug out a fat white earthworm from the soil. The fat white earthworm immediately attracted the bat monkey's attention. The blue dog fox wolf's orders restricted the bat monkey's actions. They could heal each other, but they could not leave their vigilant positions. One isn't enough. Zhen Jin dug out 3 more. The fat white earthworm emitted a strong fragrance, like the best milk. There was a hint of wonderful sweetness in the fragrance. Almost all the bat monkeys stared at the 4 earthworms in Zhen Jin's hands. You're the one who's injured the most. Zhen Jin ran to the black steel bat monkey from before again. This time, the black steel bat monkey seemed to have been tempted by the earthworms in Zhen Jin's hands. It stayed where it was and watched Zhen Jin approach. Let me give you one first. Zhen Jin took out a fat white earthworm and placed it in the mouth of the injured bat monkey. The injured bat monkey immediately opened its mouth and ate the fat white earthworm. The other bat monkeys watched the injured bat monkey chew continuously, as if they were secretly swallowing their saliva. Finally, a black steel bat monkey could not hold back anymore. It followed Zhen Jin's example and landed on the ground. It began to plunder the fat white earthworms underground. The injured bat monkey ate a fat white earthworm and wanted to eat more. But at this moment, Zhen Jin patted its shoulder and put his nose to its wound. The injured bat monkey hesitated for a moment, but it still did not leave. Zhen Jin was secretly happy. This time, he closed his mouth tightly and blocked one of his nostrils, sending out ultrasound waves. The next moment, puff. Bright red blood spurted out of his nostrils, and a large amount of it directly sprayed onto the injured bat monkey's wound. The injured bat monkey was startled and jumped up a tree. I seem to have used too much force this time. Zhen Jin was very embarrassed. He realized that his nostrils were seriously injured and blood kept flowing out. This movement finally attracted the attention of the blue dog fox wolf. Looking at Zhen Jin, the silly bat monkey who failed to heal his companion and got injured himself, blue dog, fox, and wolf showed obvious curiosity, suspicion, and disdain. Did I overreach myself? At this moment, Zhen Jin felt like he had lifted a rock and dropped it on his own feet. No, I can do it. Zhen Jin flew to the injured bat monkey's side. He had to get up from where he fell. He had to quickly prove that he could heal his companion. Under the attack of the second white fat earthworm, the injured bat monkey once again received Zhen Jin's treatment. This time, Zhen Jin paid attention to his strength, and the ultrasound waves he sent out successfully hit the bat monkey's wound. But the injured bat monkey was not satisfied and cried out. Zhen Jin understood that his strength was too weak, so he began to slowly increase his strength. But he was still a novice, and the strength of the ultrasound waves could not be maintained, causing the ultrasound waves to fluctuate. The injured bat monkey was tortured, but after Zhen Jin fed the remaining 2 white fat earthworms, it finally endured Zhen Jin's treatment with great perseverance. Finally, its wound was finally scorched, and the bleeding was successfully stopped. Jean also paid the price. His other healthy nostrils also had a nosebleed because of the ultrasound waves. When the injured bat monkey saw Jean with a nosebleed, its expression became gentle. Glancing at Jean's swollen lower body, the injured female bat monkey's expression became gentler. It gently grabbed Jean's hands, then spread out its wings and covered Jean's back, as if it was hugging Jean. Jean was shocked by this action. Soon, the female bat monkey retracted its wings and let go of its hands. Jean felt that the gazes of the surrounding bat monkeys were a bit strange, especially the male bat monkey. It seemed to hate and envy him. Then, the injured female bat monkey spat 2 mouthfuls of saliva on its palm. Then it pressed its palm on Jean's chest, making a smearing action. At this time, the surrounding male bat monkeys became restless, looking as if they wanted to fight with Jean. What's the meaning of this? Jean was confused and disgusted at the same time. Oh, at this time, the blue dog fox wolf made a move. It raised its head and howled, making a wolf's howl. So it can howl like a wolf. But why is it suddenly howling? Jean's attention was immediately drawn. Chapter 108. The blue dog fox wolf's howl shook the wind and clouds. When Jean heard it, he felt his blood boil. Pooh! The blue dog fox wolf suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and its howls were cut short. The blue dog fox wolf lowered its head and spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood on the ground. The blood was mixed with a hint of green. After spitting out the blood, the blue dog fox wolf opened its mouth and gasped for breath. It seemed like it wanted to persevere and didn't want to lie on the ground anymore. But it was too weak and in a bad state. Jean could clearly see that the forelimbs it used to support its upper body were trembling in the moonlight. Finally, the blue dog fox wolf had no strength left and could only lie on the ground again. After resting for a while, it didn't let the bat monkey heal it. Instead, it used its accumulated strength to stand up and raise its head, howling at the crescent moon in the night sky. This time, the howl was shorter than before, because the blue dog fox wolf quickly spat out another mouthful of blood. It lay on the ground again, and this time, it rested for a longer time. The corners of its mouth and nose were full of blood, and its only remaining ice blue wolf eye was very lifeless, as if it was covered with a layer of mist. It was no longer as clear and sharp as before. When it was gasping for breath, its abdomen rose and fell rapidly. The rise and fall was very large, giving people the feeling that it was terminally ill, as if every breath it took was with all its strength. After gasping for breath for a long time, the blue dog fox wolf got up for the 3rd time and howled. The howl was already very weak, and the duration it lasted was also very short. The blue dog fox wolf lay on the ground again. A thought suddenly jumped into Jean's mind. It's going to die. The poison of the green-mottled poison moss greatly exceeded Jean's expectations. Although Jean was at least at the silver level, he was still human. The blue dog fox wolf was a silver-level magical beast, and its physique was many times stronger than Jean's. Perhaps its injuries were too severe. Not only was one of its eyes blinded by the group, its tail was also broken by me. After that, it ran all the way and lost a lot of blood during the vigorous exercise. Then, blue dog fox wolf howled a few more times. The wolf howls became deeper and shorter, like the coughs of an old man. However, Jean listened quietly and witnessed these changes with his own eyes. He didn't find the blue dog fox wolf's sorry state funny at all. Instead, he felt a strong sense of sorrow. This blue dog fox wolf seemed to have great ambitions, but it had already reached the end of its life. It still wanted to run, it still wanted to kill the enemy, it still wanted to command the herd of beasts, but it had indeed reached the end of its life. Finally, when it was about to fall to the ground, death came. The blue dog fox wolf seemed to have a premonition. Unwilling to give up, it wanted to get up and use its forelimbs to support its upper body. It can't be done. It used all its strength, But in exchange, its two front paws wriggled slightly in the pool of blood. Its breath, which had weakened to the point where it was almost undetectable, finally stopped. Its gaze dimmed, and there was no luster left in its eyes. Its body was motionless, like a statue. Under the moonlight, a statue in a pool of blood. The night breeze blew gently, causing its fur to sway slightly. It seemed to be the last remnant of its life, and also seemed to be its last stubbornness. In the end, it was completely dead, and its magic was quickly dissipating. Zhang Jin's emotions were very complicated. Being reduced to this island, he struggled to survive on this island. In the process, he encountered many magical beasts. The python vine and the lava giant turtle were at the gold level. The spear scorpion, the monkey tail brown bear, and the blade spider made him face death. But the one that left the deepest impression on him was the blue dog fox wolf. This was the second time he fought with the blue dog fox wolf. In fact, when he found the traces left by Zhonggu and the others, Zhang Jin had already started a fight with the blue dog fox wolf. After that, Zhang Jin saved the camp, quickly supported the shipwright and the others, and then took in Zhonggu. And because of Zhonggu and the others, they defended the camp and broke the blue dog fox wolf's vicious tactic of diversion. If one of the decisions went wrong, Zhang Jin could have led to a series of failures, and the blue dog fox wolf would have won the final victory. The battle at the camp this morning was the turning point in the battle between Zhang Jin and the blue dog fox wolf. When Zhang Jin heard the cry of woof woof, he did not hesitate. Relying on his intuition, he firmly grasped this flaw and thus exposed the blue dog fox wolf. After that, Zhonggu gave up on the chase, but Zhang Jin persevered. After severely injuring the blue dog fox wolf, Zhang Jin knew that the following risks would greatly increase, but he still persevered, willing to take the risk, and his determination was firm. In the end, when he once again mixed into the magical beast army, painstakingly put on a show, and wanted to deliver a fatal blow, the blue dog fox wolf was heavily injured and finally died. Looking at the wolf's corpse in the pool of blood, Zhang Jin's heart was filled with admiration, a sense of accomplishment, and a faint sense of loss. If it was a human, he would definitely salute the other party. Even in his later years, Zhang Jin would recall, perhaps it was in a snowy paradise, lying on a deck chair, the firelight shining on his aged spots, surrounded by a group of children. His gaze would sink into the depths of his memory, and he would be somewhat dazed. He would say, "This is a respectable opponent." But the blue dog fox wolf was just a blue dog fox wolf. And Zhang Jin was not a human. He was just a black steelbat monkey. The monkey-tailed brown bear and the strong-life white rhinoceros were still guarding the wolf's corpse. The bat monkeys and the flying squirrels did not disperse. There was still some time before the strange fragrance emitted by the blue dog fox wolf completely reached its limit. Zhang Jin collected his thoughts, his gaze sweeping the surroundings, and gradually became scorching hot. These were all good prey. They could all be absorbed by the core and transformed. Zhang Jin was becoming more and more proficient in using the core. It could be said that most of the blue dog fox wolf's problems were with the core. Without the core, Zhang Jin would not even be able to catch it, let alone lure it into hiding and decapitate it. Look at this monkey-tailed brown bear. What a round body. Look at its muscles. Look at its bare legs. And look at this strong white rhinoceros with its terrifying recovery ability. What am I afraid of with it? The most important thing is this blue dog fox wolf. If I can emit this strange fragrance, I can subdue other magical beasts. On this island, I can simply do whatever I want. Of course, if I only rely on a blue dog fox wolf for me to absorb, it is not very likely that I can completely transform into a blue dog fox wolf. It did not matter. Zhang Jin was full of hope, because this was the second blue dog fox wolf he encountered. If there is a second, third, and fourth, will it be far away? Howl! While Zhang Jin was thinking, wolf howls suddenly came from the southeast and northwest of the forest. Zhang Jin's face was stunned, and his heart was immediately shaken. This wolf howl, he was too familiar with it. Two wolf howls from two directions meant that there were two blue dog fox wolf. Zhen Jin's wish came true. Just when he wanted the third and fourth blue dog fox wolf, they appeared. But Zhen Jin could not smile at all. So, it was calling for its companions before it died. Through the wolf howl, it seems to have left a will. What do these blue dog fox wolf communicate with each other? Has the camp been exposed? Has the spear scorpion, which is not controlled by the strange fragrance, been exposed? No. These two blue dog fox wolf must also be killed. While they are alone, I must kill them directly. Zhen Jin's heart was filled with a strong, killing intent. The beast horde here had not dispersed, so he could ignore it for now. The two blue dog fox wolf that had just appeared were the biggest threat. However, when Zhen Jin used ultrasonic detection, he was surprised to find that these two blue dog fox wolf were not walking alone. They were each leading a magical beast army. From the image depicted by the ultrasonic, Zhen Jin found the familiar figures of a bat monkey, a flying squirrel, and a brown monkey tail bear. Other than that, there was also a giant snake. This giant snake had a sharp head, a very large body, and a very swollen tail. Not good. I can't kill them in a short time. Zhen Jin's intuition told him that if he mutated into a spear scorpion again and wanted to use the lure and decapitation plan again, he was afraid that these two blue dog fox wolf would beat him at his own game. Zhen Jin gave up on the plan to kill the blue dog fox wolf. He quickly left the magical beast army and mutated into an emerald lizard. The emerald lizard once again broke into the magical beast army's warning line. By continuously spraying acid, it attracted the brown monkey tail bear, the strong white rhinoceros, the bat monkey group, and the flying squirrel group. Zhen Jin led them in a circle, then mutated into a black iron bat monkey and rushed to the wolf's corpse. He turned into a black iron-green lizard again and left with the wolf's corpse on his back. Without the command of the blue dog fox wolf, the magical beast army was leaderless and had little intelligence. They were fooled by Zhen Jin's simple trick. The blue dog fox wolf's corpse was finally in his hands. Hopefully, after the heart core transformation, Zhen Jin would be able to have organs that could emit this strange fragrance. Chapter 109. The moonlight wasn't bright tonight, and the forest looked even darker under the moonlight. At this moment, an acid-green lizard was moving quickly in the forest. The strange thing was that the lizard was carrying a silver wolf corpse on its back. Blood spilled from the wolf's corpse, decorating the path with flowers of blood. If I go like this, I'll be easily tracked. The green lizard was Zhen Jin's mutation. Sensing the blood, he stopped. His current position was quite far away from the place where the blue dog, fox, and wolf had died. Zhen Jin fell in a deep thought. It would be a pity if I just let the wolf blood go. Maybe I can collect it and give it to ZD for research to see why the green spot poisonous moss is so effective against the blue dog fox wolf. Maybe ZD can concoct an even more poisonous potion. Thinking of this, Zhen Jin threw the wolf's corpse on the ground and kept spraying acid. He shot out all the thick liquid in the venom bag, completely emptying the venom bag. Then, he put his mouth on the wolf's corpse and used the special muscles in his mouth and neck to produce a strong suction force. The residual blood of the wolf's corpse was quickly sucked into the poison bag in Zhen Jin's body. Even if Zhen Jin was poisoned, he wasn't afraid. He could use the magic crystal in his heart to detoxify the poison. Looking back in the direction he came from, Zhen Jin decided to investigate the remaining magical beast army and the two blue dog fox wolf that had just appeared. Wait a minute. Zhen Jin was about to turn to a bat monkey when he suddenly had a new idea. He thought of the green spot poisonous moss he had stacked in the form of a spear scorpion. What if I use the acid green lizard's body and turn it into a bat monkey's head? Jin Jin tried to do so, and soon he succeeded. Now, he had become a green lizard with a bat monkey's head. Now I can spray acid, but it won't work. The acid can pass through the lizard's neck, but it can't reach the bat monkey's mouth. Zhen Jin began to try using this form to send out ultrasonic waves. His vocal cords were the same as the bat monkey's, but his lungs still retained the lizard's lungs. After failing twice, Jean finally succeeded on his third attempt. The results of the probe were successfully transmitted back. The original place was already in chaos. The remaining magical beast army was resisting the pincer attack of two magical beast armies. Without the leadership of the blue dog fox wolf, the remaining magical beast army would definitely be defeated, and the survivors would be swallowed up. What surprised Jean was that the two magical beast armies didn't fight each other. The two new blue dog fox wolf didn't seem to be hostile to each other. They seemed to be in some kind of cooperative relationship. You want to eliminate the remaining magical beast army first before making your move? Or did they join forces because of the wolf howl? Jean guessed that if it was the latter, it meant that the dead blue dog fox wolf might have said a lot of information in Lang Zhao's last words. After stopping the ultrasonic waves, Jean turned himself back into a complete green lizard. The overall effect is not bad. Perhaps it was because the green lizard's neck was much longer than the bat monkey's, but Jean could feel the air flow through here and control it more steadily. Therefore, the ultrasonic waves he emitted this time were no longer loud and soft. The sound frequency could be maintained within a very low range. However, the ultrasonic waves emitted in this form were much lower than the bat monkey's. I used the lungs of the green lizard. The ability of the bat monkey's lungs to contract and expand is much stronger. No matter what, I really merged the bat monkey and the green lizard into one. It's amazing. The green lizard is a cold-blooded animal, while the bat monkey is a warm-blooded animal. There's a contradiction between the two coexisting. Jean had asked Song Su for advice before. Every life form had its own unique system. It wasn't possible to create the strongest beast just by piecing together the strongest parts of an animal. However, Jean clearly had the potential to achieve such an achievement now. The bat monkey's head and the green lizard's body actually coexisted harmoniously. However, this kind of multi-layered transformation consumes even more mana in the heart core. Jean's eyes flashed. Perhaps I've found a reason. The parts of these life forms don't actually coexist by themselves. Their true core is the magic crystal in my heart. It's precisely because of the constant consumption of mana that I'm able to mutate tissues and organs with the characteristics of other life forms. In fact, Jean had already started to mutate multiple times. Back then, when he was fighting against the fat ball-flying fish in the oasis, he had mutated bear arms and lizard eyes at the same time. Jean's thoughts continued to wander. Wait, can I make the green lizard grow bat wings? Soon, a pair of bat wings grew out of the green lizard Jean's back. This made him look like a low-level dragon. Jean tried to flap his wings again. He could fly, but it took a lot of effort to do so. Whether it was the height, speed, or agility of flight, he couldn't compare to the bat monkey. The muscles on the bat monkey's back are especially developed. It can make the bat wings flap more forcefully and at a higher frequency. The growth of muscles on the green lizard's back is suitable for running or swimming in water. To support a pair of bat wings is completely difficult for these muscles. True knowledge came from practice. After Jean tried it, he immediately had a lot of profound experience. I'm getting carried away. Now is not the time to experiment. Jean quickly came back to his senses. He canceled the transformation of the bat wings, put the wolf's corpse back on his back, and continued running. After spending a lot of time, he finally returned to the mountaintop where he had jumped. He managed to find his clothes and equipment. Looking at the wolf's corpse again, Jean fell into hesitation. What should he do with it? Jean knew that he had two choices. The first choice was to bring the wolf's corpse back intact and let Song Su dissect it. Perhaps he could analyze the secret of the blue dog fox wolf's ability to control other beasts with its scent. The second choice was to let the heart core absorb and transform it. The first choice was very safe, but the second choice was actually a gamble. Jean knew very well that simply absorbing and transforming the blue dog fox wolf would not completely transform him into this life form. But if the gamble paid off, Jean would have an organ that could emit a strange scent, then the benefits would be too great. Jean thought for a moment and decided to take the gamble. He used a spider blade to cut off some wolf fur and brought it with him. Then he poured out all the water in the water bag and sprayed the wolf's blood into it. Then he activated the heart core to transform and absorb the wolf's corpse. Now, I could transform into, a wolf's nose and wolf fur? Jean felt that it was a pity. He did not take the gamble. The two extra options were not very good. The wolf's nose had a better sense of smell than humans, but Jean's spear scorpion and green lizard forms also had a good sense of smell. Wolf fur could keep him warm, but in this kind of temperature, it was completely unnecessary. Jean could only transform back into his human form, put on his clothes, put on his rapier, pack the water bag, and set off again. After a few steps, he frowned. It was fine for him to transform into other forms, but after he became a human and put on his clothes, every time he moved, his clothes would rub against his lower body, causing the pain and injuries to worsen. If I get rid of that life-threatening white rhinoceros and absorb and transform it, this kind of injury won't be a problem for me if I'm lucky. Jean sighed. He had no choice but to take off his clothes and equipment and mutate again. He turned into a black steel-bat monkey and grabbed his clothes, rapier, boots, and water bag in his hands. He spread his bat wings and flew into the night sky. Flying in a straight line above the canopy saved him a lot of time. After flying for a while, he would stop and use ultrasound to investigate the surroundings to prevent anyone from seeing this strange scene. Although in the dark night, one's vision was greatly limited. But what if? Jean was still very cautious. All the way until he reached the vicinity of the camp, he did not encounter any trouble. After landing in a dark corner, he transformed into his human form. After putting on everything, he endured the discomfort in his crotch and came to the entrance of the camp. Who is it? As soon as Jean appeared, the guards were alerted. When the guards saw clearly, they immediately shouted in surprise, "Ah, it's the Lord Jean. Lord Jean, it's really the Lord Jean. The Lord Jean is back." The two guards worked together and opened the camp door. As soon as Jean stepped in, he saw a huge snake carcass. What is this? Jean's eyes flashed. The snake carcass was 6 meters long and looked like an anaconda. However, its head and tail were very strange. Its head was like a crocodile's head, and its tail was bloated like a huge round hammer. Jean took a closer look and found that the snake scales were not standard. It looked like the skin of a crocodile. This is Zhongji's prey, a silver-level magical beast. Scholar Tsang Su dissected part of it and called it the alligator-headed hammertail centipede. The two guards introduced it to Jean. "I see." Jean nodded and asked, "How did Zhongge get rid of him? Was he injured?" The guards shook their heads, indicating that they did not know. "Master, you and Zhongge chased after the mastermind. In the end, Zhongge returned, but you did not. Master ZD brought Lan Zhao, Hei Wan, and the others to the enemy's camp to question Zhongge. Zhongge handed the alligator-headed hammertail centipede to us. It's great that you're back." Jean was silent. He thought about how he was discovered by the guards when he showed up. Obviously, with Zhongji's return and him missing, ZD, Tsang Su, and the others were under great pressure. "Ah, Lord Jean, it's really you." Shi Suo was the first to hear the noise and ran out. Although Jean had taken away his power, he was happy to see Jean. Jean nodded to Shi Suo and ordered, "I'm back. I have something important to discuss with everyone. Also, invite Zhongge and Sandao here." Half an hour later, in the central wooden house, on the long wooden table, there were many candles. The candlelight shone on a pile of blue wolf fur. This is what happened. Jean finished his narration to the people in the house. Mu Ben exclaimed, "It's unbelievable. You can control other species of beasts just by smell?" Scholar Tsang Su, what do you think about this? Jean asked. Tsang Su said, "Smell has a wide range of effects on animals. For example, ants. When ants find food, they will leave their smell on the way back. Other ants will follow this smell and gather food together. Or stags. When stags seek a mate, they will rub their bodies against trees and leave their smell on the trees. When a female deer smells this smell, she will find the stags. There are also hyenas, lions, wolves, and so on. They use their urine to mark their territory and use it as a road sign to prevent themselves from getting lost. And skunks use their stench to defend themselves and scare away their enemies. Ring-tailed lemurs use their stench to attack. They duel with each other, and whoever smells more will win and gain a higher status among the monkeys. At this point, Sang-Soo shook his head. But I've never heard of using scent to subdue other kinds of wild beasts. The blue dog fox wolf's behavior is very similar to that of shepherd dog. A shepherd dog raised by a farm owner can help the farm owner herd the sheep and prevent the cattle, sheep, and horses from escaping. It can also protect them from being attacked by bears, wolves, and other beasts. ZD said, according to Lord Jean-Jin's description, only man-made magical beasts are affected. The blue dog fox wolf's smell has such an effect. It is very likely that the owner of the island deliberately arranged it. Think about it. The owner of the island created so many living war weapons. How could he have no generals? The blue dog fox wolf was created by the owner of the island and is the general that commands the beasts. ZD had always been a supporter of the weapon theory conjecture. In fact, she was the one who first proposed this idea. After that, Sang-Soo also supported this conjecture. It's a pity that we don't have a wolf carcass on hand. Otherwise, let me dissect it and I would definitely be able to understand more secrets. Sang-Soo shook his head regretfully. ZD immediately retorted, no, Lord Jin did the right thing. How could Sir carry a heavy wolf carcass on such a long journey in the middle of the night through the forest? Sir followed the beasts for a long time. When the blue dog fox wolf was trying to subdue the blue dog fox wolf, he risked his life in a surprise attack and killed the blue dog fox wolf. Lord Jin, you have solved the threat of the camp with your own strength. You have done very well. Jin looked at the girl's beautiful amethyst-like eyes and smiled slightly. He reached out and held ZD's hand that was placed on the table. ZD's hand subconsciously retracted slightly, but she still stopped and let Jin hold it. Jin continued. Unfortunately, the wolf howl at the end actually attracted the other two blue dog fox wolf. I don't know what the wolf howl was trying to express or convey, but we have to be vigilant. According to the worst-case scenario, we are very likely to face the magical beast army formed by the two blue dog fox wolf. Everyone's expression was very serious and dignified. It seems that we have to change our strategy, Muban said. We can't just cut wood. We have to make strong crossbows as soon as possible. Lord Jin once led an exploration team and used a short bow to eliminate a group of flying squirrels. This kind of successful experience can be used as a reference. I know many types of crossbows, and Lady ZD we discussed during dinner. Lady ZD can provide potions and corrode metal. As long as there are enough metal crossbows, wood, and time, we will have an endless supply of crossbows. Everyone listened and nodded slightly. This was a very good suggestion. Zong-Gu spoke at this time. The blue dog fox wolf's magical beast army is likely to continue to cause trouble for us. Rather than passively waiting for them to attack, we should take the initiative to attack. It's too risky for us to go deep into the vast forest alone. Shisuo immediately shook his head. Zong-Gu laughed. What I mean is, we should clear out all the beasts near the camp. Everyone's eyes lit up. Sandao agreed. Lord Zong-Gu is right. According to Lord Jean-Jin's information, there is a time limit to the strange fragrance. The size of the magical beast army is actually limited by the amount of food. It won't grow without a limit. If we clear out all the surrounding beasts, the blue dog fox wolf won't be able to get any support. At the same time, the meat we get from clearing out the beasts will increase our food reserves. If we want to do this, we first need more detailed information. Jin muttered. Zong-Gu laughed. His gaze was like the short spear behind him. He looked at Jin with a challenging attitude. Then let's scout first. You'll be responsible for half. I'll be responsible for the other half. With the camp as the center, we'll scout out the terrain within a kilometer radius, as well as all the beasts. What do you think? Templar Knight. Zhenjin looked at Zhonggu and fell silent for a moment. He knew what Zhonggu meant. This time, Zhonggu slaughtered a silver-level magical beast, but in the end, he still lost track of the blue dog fox wolf. But Zhenjin did it. According to Zhenjin's description, he even killed the blue dog fox wolf, which was a great threat by himself. This achievement would definitely be publicized, and everyone would know about it. In this way, Zhonggu would undoubtedly be defeated. Zhongji's identity was flawed. Coupled with this achievement, Zhenjin's influence in the team would skyrocket. This was what Zhonggu didn't want to see. Maybe because of your military training, you're familiar with how to gather information. But is it really okay for you to use this to compete with me? Thinking of this, Zhenjin sighed and nodded slightly. Then let's do it. After the discussion, everyone dispersed. After thinking for a while, Zhenjin came to ZD's tent. ZD, are you asleep? Sir, I'm not asleep yet. Please come in and talk. ZD's voice came from the tent. Zhenjin opened the door and entered. ZD was still wearing the magic robe with a hood. The loose magic robe made the girl even more petite and pitiful. Seeing ZD's expression, Zhenjin sighed. He walked in front of ZD and took ZD in his arms. ZD's body trembled slightly, but she didn't resist. Are you afraid? Zhenjin comforted her softly. He knew that the blue dog fox wolf had left a huge psychological shadow on ZD. With Sir here, I'm not afraid, ZD said softly. I'll always be by your side. The first blue dog fox wolf died at my feet. The second one also died. The third one, the fourth one. Even if more appear, as long as I'm here, I won't let them hurt you. I promise you. Zhenjin comforted her. ZD raised her head in Zhenjin's arms. Lord Zhenjin, I believe in you. As if she felt something, the girl's expression became a little strange. Oh, right. I came to find you this time, mainly because of some blood. Zhenjin smiled at ZD. I need you to do it secretly. Don't tell anyone before there's a result. ZD's face suddenly flushed red. Sir, what do you want to do? Zhenjin saw ZD's expression and thought for a moment. He understood that she had misunderstood him. Don't misunderstand, I mean. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by ZD. Sir, you're having a nosebleed. Zhenjin also felt the blood flow. He was very embarrassed. Listen to me, ZD, it's not what you think. P.S. Today's second update is a major chapter. Tomorrow's first update is to correct the typos, organize the outline, and optimize the details. Chapter 110. The sky was filled with the glow of the sunset, so red that it made people's hearts palpitate. Streaks of blood were floating in the air. Two blue dog fox wolf rushed in amidst the howls. Their bodies were even larger than the strong white rhinoceros, and they directly destroyed the camp's gate. Everyone in the camp was running away in panic. Sir, save me. In the midst of running, ZD sprained her ankle and fell to the ground. The two blue dog fox wolf approached the girl step by step. They bared their sharp fangs, revealing their red gums. Their expressions were ferocious, and their eyes emitted a green light, as if they were extremely hungry. ZD, don't be afraid. I'm here. Zhenjin shouted and ran over. ZD saw Zhenjin, but instead screamed, don't come over. Another blue dog, fox wolf. Sorry, I can't save you. Heiwan shouted and ran away from ZD. His voice trembled, revealing a strong sense of fear. An arrow pierced through the air and shot into Zhenjin's back. I've hit it. Baya cheered happily from a distant archery tower. Lan Zhao rushed forward with his scimitar and slashed Zhenjin, causing Zhenjin's abdomen to bleed profusely. Lan Zhao looked at Zhenjin with hatred and anger and shouted, Master is not here. I will use my life to protect Mistress. Bastard, get lost. Let me do it. Suddenly, a figure came out from the ground. It was Zhonggu. Zhonggu held the pair of short spears that he always carried on his back and pierced Zhenjin's chest, piercing through Zhenjin's heart. Zhenjin suffered a fatal blow. His eyes widened, and he fell to the ground. Master Zhonggu killed a blue dog fox wolf, Sandao shouted. The other two blue dog fox wolf ran away in fear. Zhonggu! Zhonggu! The camp was filled with cheers. At this moment, Zhenjin returned from his blue dog fox wolf form to his human form. The cheers suddenly stopped. Everyone gathered in a circle, looking at Zhenjin on the ground with shock, suspicion, disgust, and disgust. ZD suddenly rushed into the crowd and knelt on the ground. She held Jinjun's head and cried, "My lord, you are bleeding." The next moment, in the tent, Jinjun suddenly opened his eyes. Huff, huff, huff. His breathing was rapid and his eyes focused. He found that he was still sleeping in the tent. Zong Ji's head slowly. Zonggu, 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 another nightmare. After realizing this, Zhenjin gradually calmed down. There was no light source in the tent. The candles were extinguished by Zhenjin before he went to sleep last night. The sun shone through the gaps in the tent. It was already dawn outside. The sound of people walking around could be heard outside the tent. How long have I slept? Zhenjin got up. He tidied up his underwear, put on his leather armor, and put on his leather boots. Finally, he hung a rapier on his waist, brought a water bag, and a small amount of food. This last resource was a habit that Zhenjin immediately formed after he was teleported. Before opening the curtain, Zhenjin looked at himself one last time. He then realized that the swelling on his lower body had subsided. In an instant, the embarrassing scene that happened in ZD's tent last night appeared in his mind. Zhenjin could have asked ZD for some medicine to reduce the swelling, but in the end, he didn't mention anything and hurriedly bid farewell to ZD. Fortunately, after resting for half the night, relying on Zhenjin's own recovery ability, he had already recovered. Walking out of the tent, Zhenjin found Lan Zhao. The latter was straightening his back and guarding the tent meticulously. Noticing Zhenjin's arrival, Lan Zhao immediately saluted and said very respectfully, "Good morning, my master." Zhenjin nodded. "Have you eaten?" "Not yet, master." "Then let's go eat together." "Yes, master." Zhenjin and Lan Zhao walked in the camp one after the other. The camp was in the middle of a comprehensive repair. In the most important wooden house hall, the little giant was using his fist to hit a wooden stake. The wooden stake went deep into the soil again and again. This was the new foundation of the wooden house hall. The little giant's injuries were already gone. One of the advantages of a giant's bloodline was its strong recovery ability. On the other side, Mu Ban was leading a group of people to use axes, saws, and other tools to process the wood. "Don't saw like this, do it like this. Stop, watch what I do. You're simply wasting wood like this." Mu Ban kept scolding. His anger was not small. ZD's tent, on the other hand, had specially opened a skylight. Pungent black smoke was rising from the skylight. It was obvious that she was concocting medicine. Zhenjin and Lan Zhao stopped in front of the bonfire. An iron pot was placed over the bonfire, and the meat soup in the pot was bubbling, emitting a strong aroma. The camp didn't have a kitchen yet, and probably wouldn't have one in the future. At most, they could build a shed here to shelter them from the wind and rain. However, there were already people in charge of cooking here. Soon, breakfast was served with both hands. Breakfast was very simple, just meat soup. However, to have boiled water already made Zhenjin feel happy. The taste of the meat was not bad, and the key was that it was very chewy. "This is the meat of the alligator hammertail centipede?" Zhenjin asked. The person in charge immediately replied, "Yes, sir. Lady ZD has already checked it, and there is no trace of poison. This snake is really big. The meat on its body is enough for us to eat for 3 whole days." Zhenjin picked up the bowl and walked over to the corpse of the alligator hammertail centipede. When he returned to the camp last night, he didn't have time to examine it carefully. After an emergency discussion with everyone, he comforted ZD and returned to his tent to sleep. He slept until now. Zhenjin drank the meat soup while observing the huge snake corpse. The alligator hammertail centipede's body was huge and its weight should be higher than the strong life white rhinoceros. Among all the magical beasts that Zhenjin saw on this island, only the lava giant turtle had a bigger body and heavier weight than the alligator hammertail centipede. It seems that Zhonggu spent a lot of effort to kill this silver-ranked magical beast. Zhenjin looked at the snake corpse and didn't find any wounds left by spears or spears. Instead, there were many bite marks. Lord Zhenjin. At this time, Bai came to visit Zhenjin. One of his arms was still wrapped in bandages, and it was a fracture. According to the recovery ability of an ordinary person, it would take at least a month to recover. The sky has just brightened, and Zhonggu brought a group of people to scout. Sir, I grew up in the forest since I was young. I may not be able to hunt now, but in terms of scouting, I will definitely be able to help you. Bai was very enthusiastic and took the initiative to volunteer. Zhenjin smiled. Have you eaten? I ate a long time ago, sir. Bai's face was full of eagerness, and he wanted to hear Zhenjin's next words. Let's go now. But Zhenjin handed the wooden bowl to Bai. Then help me get another bowl. I still want to eat a little more. Bai was stunned, but immediately reacted and took the wooden bowl. It would be my pleasure, sir. Zhenjin slowly began to eat the second bowl of meat soup. Cyanobacteria ate a bowl and followed behind Jinjun, remaining silent. Bai looked at the leisurely Zhenjin, and his heart became more and more anxious. He wanted to persuade him, but he couldn't open his mouth. After all, he knew that Zhenjin returned to the camp late at night. It seems that in the end, I still have fear in my heart. Zhenjin thought back to his dream and sighed inwardly. The scouting challenge was issued by Zhonggu. Zhenjin didn't take it to heart, because he knew that victory was already in his hands. However, he also took in Bai's expression, and his heart was somewhat moved. Let's go. After eating and drinking to their fill, Zhenjin led a group of people out of the camp. In addition to Bai, there were other people, including Lan Zhao and Shi Suo. All of this was arranged by Tsang Su. He had already reported to Zhenjin last night and obtained Zhenjin's approval. The efficiency of a single person in scouting was indeed too low. This was an environment where magic was forbidden and fighting aura couldn't be used. Zhenjin's role was more to protect the scouting team. There was nothing much to say about mapping. The pink potion was quickly used up. There wasn't much of it to begin with. At noon, Zhenjin led the team back to the camp for lunch. Bai reported to him worriedly, Lord Zhenjin, we didn't see Zhonggu and the others return. They should have brought food and eaten outside. In the evening, when the sun had just set over the canopy, Zhenjin had already retreated back to the camp. Bai reported again, Sir, Zhonggu and the others haven't returned yet. They are doing their best. The words doing their best made Zhenjin's heart skip a beat. He suddenly realized that in this situation, if he felt the pressure, Zhonggu must be under even greater pressure than him. It's not easy. Zhenjin sighed. Bai's eyes widened slightly. He tried his best to persuade Zhenjin in order to make him alert and nervous, but he didn't expect to get such a sigh in the end. Bai was really anxious. Sir, we can also bring food and continue scouting at noon. We don't have to waste precious time going back and forth to the camp. That's a good suggestion. Let's do that tomorrow. Zhenjin readily accepted the good advice. He had originally planned to do that. Although victory was within his grasp, he still had to pretend to be so that others wouldn't suspect him. When night fell completely, there were movements near the camp. Zhonggu and the others had finally returned. Zhonggu and Sandao's group had a certain level of night vision because of their mixed bloodlines. However, Zhonggu still chose to return. They had been scouting for the entire day. Everyone was physically and mentally exhausted, and their combat power had decreased greatly. In the forest at night, predators were on the move, and the risk was greatly increased. More importantly, Zhenjin had brought back valuable information. The two blue dog fox wolf might lead the magical beast army to cause trouble for them. Therefore, no matter how brave Zhonggu was, he was still worried about a surprise attack by the magical beast army at night. This choice was greatly convenient for Zhenjin. After dinner, he used the excuse of patrolling as an excuse to go deep into the forest alone. The excuse he had deliberately thrown out earlier was already effective. No one doubted his true motives. After leaving the camp, he confirmed that there was no one around, then took off his clothes and practiced his various magical beast forms. The silver spear scorpion form mainly practiced turning while running at high speed. The black steel bat monkey form made the use of ultrasound more proficient. The bronze flying squirrel form tried to release electric current attacks. There's too little time. There's also more practice content. Jinjin trained hard for most of the night. He almost didn't stop to rest. Jinjin only returned to the camp when it was almost dawn. He crawled into his tent and hurried to catch up on sleep. Chapter 111. When the next day arrived, Jinjin was woken up by the noise. What's going on? Jinjin opened his hazy eyes. After listening for a while, he seemed to hear Zhongji's voice. Last night, because he was immersed in his training, he was too tired. Jinjin did not take off his leather armor. He just threw his rapier, water bag, and other things to the side and fell asleep. At this time, he directly got up, put on his rapier, opened the curtain, and immediately walked out of the tent. The quarrel had just ended, and Zhonggu was leaving with a group of people. These people were holding crossbows in their hands. Lord Jinjin. Shisua saw Jinjin and immediately found his backbone. He quickly ran in front of Jinjin and pointed at Zhonggu and the others. These people are too barbaric. They ran over and directly took away most of the crossbows. When the people around Zhonggu saw Jinjin coming, they all stood still and looked nervous. Zhonggu quietly stared at Jinjin and lightly said, "Yesterday, we explored a range of 8,000 meters and were attacked no less than 20 times. The more crossbows we have, the faster we can investigate and the less damage we will suffer. Temple Knight, I think you should understand the current situation." Jinjin looked at Zhonggu and did not speak for a while. The youth keenly observed that Zhongji's steel armor was rougher and more deformed than what he remembered. Especially between the waist and abdomen, there were obvious traces of a huge force. This should be the result of the fight between Zhonggu and the crocodile head hammertail centipede. On Zhongji's back, not only was there a pair of short spears, there was also a huge white bone hammer. The bone hammer was shockingly dense and heavy. It was obvious that it was modified from the tailbone of the crocodile head hammertail centipede. Regarding this, Jinjin knew. Just yesterday, Zhonggu had sent someone to retrieve the tailbone of the alligator hammertail centipede. He didn't expect them to act so quickly. One day later, Zhonggu added a new weapon to his arsenal. Jinjin did not speak, and neither did Zhonggu. Both sides fell into a short silence, and the stalemate gradually made the atmosphere tense. The bone hammer looks pretty good. Suddenly, Jinjin smiled and broke the silence. Someone's injured? How are the casualties? Perhaps I can arrange for ZD to concoct another batch of healing potions, Jinjin continued. For some reason, Zhonggu felt even more nervous when he saw Jinjin smile. But on the surface, Zhonggu was quite calm. There aren't many casualties. Don't let Miss ZD busy herself with other things. He would let Miss ZD concoct more corrosive agents and make more triggers. Right now, we need more crossbows. The more the better. Zhonggu repeated. Jinjin nodded. Looks like you and I have the same idea. Then, I wish you success today. Sir, Shisuo was stunned. He didn't expect Jinjin to let Zhonggu and his men go. Zhonggu didn't seem too surprised. He nodded at Jinjin and left the camp with the former mercenaries who heaved a sigh of relief. Looking at Zhongji's back, Jinjin realized that the modification of his new weapon was very crude. Basically, a wooden pole was inserted into the bone hammer to form the handle. This was very similar to the spider blade that Jinjin made with spider tentacles. Jinjin opened his mouth again. Tonight, when the people around Zhonggu heard Jinjin's words, they immediately raised their heads and turned around. Jinjin continued, "You can send the bone hammer over. Muban's craftsmanship is better." Zhongji's footsteps paused, but he didn't look back. The majestic half-beast warrior continued to walk forward. When he was about to leave the camp, he said, "Thank you very much." Shisuo watched as the group smoothly left the camp with crossbows. Sir, are you letting them go just like that? Zhenjin smiled. They didn't need these crossbows. Shisuo shook his head. But these are most of the crossbows we have. We don't have enough. It's okay. Muban walked over and heard Shisuo's words. We can make more. With the corrosive agent provided by President ZD, I have already made a template and can make triggers in batches. The quality of these triggers is better, so the crossbows made will be stronger. As for the ones Zhonggu took away, they were soaked in seawater and experienced battles. They were not properly maintained, so they are all defective products. It's already good enough that they can be used. What do you know? Shisuo stared at Muban. Muban lowered his head and didn't say anything. He was just an ordinary person, but Shisuo was a bronze-ranked warrior. No, if there are any new crossbows, we have to provide some to Zhonggu. Zhenjin said. Sir, if we do that. Shisuo was stunned. Zhenjin looked at Shisuo, his blue eyes becoming deep. Compared to the crossbows, I want to know how Zhonggu and the others enter the camp. Who is the person on duty at the moment? Zhenjin asked. It's me, sir. Slender Rope quickly lowered his head, but then he argued. Zhonggu brought a large group of people here. They came in a menacing manner and demanded crossbows the moment they opened their mouths. If I close the camp door, I'm afraid it would cause a bigger conflict. You know, I'm just a bronze-ranked sailor. So, I had no choice but to bring Zhonggu and a small group of people into the camp. Zhenjin asked again, Why didn't you inform me? Shisuo licked his dry lips. Sir, I was about to send someone to inform you. I originally planned to deal with Zhonggu and hold on for a while. Who knew that Zhonggu didn't play by the rules and directly walked into the armory and took the crossbows by force? Zhenjin was silent. He didn't say anything and just looked at Shisuo. As if gradually unable to bear the invisible pressure of Zhenjin's gaze, Shisuo lowered his head more and more. Muban looked at this scene from the side and couldn't help but secretly feel happy. Zhenjin said, Shisuo, Sir, I'm waiting for your orders. Shisuo quickly said. Zhenjin sighed softly. You and I are both pure humans. We shouldn't look down on each other's intelligence, right? Sir. At this moment, Shisuo seemed to have a fat tongue attached to his body. Your performance this time really disappointed me. Zhenjin continued. But I understand you. I know the pain and uneasiness in your heart. But please understand the situation in front of you. You also participated in yesterday's meeting, didn't you? Go and guard the camp gate yourself. If today's situation happens again, you should know what to do, right? Shisuo half knelt on the ground. In a short time, he was already covered in cold sweat. He clutched his chest and promised Zhenjin, Sir, I will definitely guard the camp gate with my life. If Zhonggu brings people again, I will definitely guard the camp gate and do my best. Very good. Then I look forward to your performance. You may leave. After Zhenjin's reprimand, Shisuo put away his thoughts. For the rest of the day, he stood guard at the camp gate and even ate his meals on the spot. No matter what his real thoughts were, this attitude of accepting punishment satisfied Zhenjin. On this day, the young knight still led by Ye and the others to scout the surroundings. He had trained hard for a long time last night and slept little. He didn't have enough time to rest, causing his back to ache from trekking through the forest. Therefore, Zhenjin left earlier than yesterday and returned to the camp. During dinner, Bai came to Zhenjin. Sir, Zhonggu and the others haven't returned yet, but they brought back a seriously injured person at noon. I heard that in just this morning, they walked more than 10,000 meters. All in all, they've already completed 1/10 of the mission they're in charge of today. Bai continued, since we don't return to the camp at noon, we can eat jerky outside at night. This way, we can squeeze out more time to scout. Zhenjin looked at Bai's worried expression and felt warm in his heart. He patted him on the shoulder. Don't worry, Bai. The work of scouting has to be meticulous, and we have to ensure the safety of our own people. We can't advance prematurely. The forest is full of danger, and we have to be vigilant at all times. If we're not careful, we'll be ambushed by wild beasts. Therefore, you must have a good rest. After dinner, Zhenjin returned to the tent and tried to buy himself some time to rest. In the middle of the night, he set off again using the excuse of night patrol to secretly train hard. This continued for 3 days in a row. Zhongge and the others' progress had left Jinjin and the others far behind. Baya became anxious. "Sir, we're about to lose. I heard that you have to patrol at night every day. No wonder you don't have enough energy during the day. Lord Jinjin, please stop doing this. Shisuo is very serious about guarding the camp. He's enough." Zhun Jin shook his head. When marching to war, one has to be tense and the other has to be relaxed. Baya anxiously stared. "But sir, we rest well every day and we have nowhere to vent our energy. We can go further and scout more places." Jinjin smiled. "You don't understand what I mean. What I mean is that Zhongge and the others use too much energy to scout the surroundings. Their fighting strength has dropped tremendously, and there are people injured almost every day. If at this time, Blue Dog Fox Wolf leads the magical beast army to attack, what should we do? Therefore, we have to keep some of our fighting strength. At the critical moment, if Zhongge and the others can't fight, then they can only rely on us." "So that's what you think, sir?" Baya was stunned. "Sir, you're too kind. You're too considerate of the big picture. That despicable half-beastman, Mango, must have taken advantage of my lord's benevolence. Sir Tsang-Su reminded me that Zhongge did this on purpose. He initiated this scouting challenge. If he can defeat you, sir, his influence will greatly increase. He deliberately rushed the troops every day to let the troops suffer from danger, but also to control the casualties. This is obviously what a soldier does. It's precisely because he put the people around him in danger that they will rely on Zhongge from the bottom of their hearts. Every time Zhongge helped to resolve a crisis, it would make the people around him feel more grateful or admire him. Sir, Zhongge has been challenging your authority." Jinji nodded. As expected of an old scholar, sharp eyes. "My lord." Bai was so anxious that he wanted to stomp his feet. Now, people's hearts have changed. Our comrades are starting to slack off. Some people think that it's good for us to slack off like this. Let Zhongge and his men sacrifice more, and we can sit back and enjoy the fruits of their labor. There are also some people who are unhappy. If this continues, we will be defeated by the half-beast men, gnomes, and so on. We can obviously work harder, but this is not the result of us going all out. Zhongge and his men are also spreading rumors. They look down on us, thinking that we are afraid of danger, too cautious, and not men. There is even a rumor among the injured among them. Bai was very angry when he said this. "Oh, tell me about it. The rumor says that you didn't actually kill any blue dog fox wolf. Maybe it was 2 blue dog fox wolf at the beginning, and you only picked up a small handful of wolf fur on the ground. When you returned to the camp and saw Zhongge killing the crocodile hammertail centipede, you were worried that your status would be affected by this battle, so you took out the wolf fur to lie. In terms of combat power, you are not as good as Zhongge. The results of these few days of investigation can tell what kind of person you are." Baya finished speaking in one breath. Besides being angry, he was also a little anxious. Zhun Jin smiled. "This rumor is very interesting. It seems that Zhongge has united his men very closely. Sir, you are misunderstood like this. Aren't you angry?" Baya was puzzled. Zhun Jin smiled. "You also said that this is just a rumor, right?" "But sir," Zhun Jin continued, "I am more concerned about the casualties of Zhongji's men. I heard that 2 of them have died. Yes, one was killed by a poisonous snake on the spot, and the other fell to the ground and died halfway back to the camp. Other than that, there are more than 10 injured. The casualties are quite high." Zhun Jin sighed. "It seems that it is time to take out the complete map." Chapter 112. When it was deep into the night, Zhongge led a group of people back to their camp. "Master Zhongge, Master Sandao, you're back." A group of people stayed in the camp and quickly greeted them. "Phew, we're finally back. Today wasn't easy either. What I want to do now is to drink some hot water. Let's not talk anymore. I should have some medicine in my tent." Everyone started to disperse at the entrance of the camp. All of them were hungry and tired. Some of them even had new injuries. Zhongge and Sandao did not rest. Instead, they went to the big tent in the center. This tent was originally Zhong Ji's residence. However, because there were more and more injured people, it was troublesome to take care of them alone. Therefore, Zhonggu took the initiative to let it be. Seeing that the injured people were gathered here, he arranged for people to take care of them. Zhonggu opened the curtain door and began to inspect the injured people. The big tent was about 50 to 60 square meters. It was dimly lit with candles inside. Most of the injured people were seriously injured and were lying on the straw mats. Hearing the movement, the sober injured people opened their eyes and looked at Zhonggu with respect. "It's Master Zhonggu." Some people struggled to sit up. Some people kept groaning. They only opened their eyes a little. The pain was unbearable. Some people were unconscious and had a high fever. "Don't get up." Zhonggu stopped them in time. "How's the situation?" He asked the nearest injured person expressionlessly. "Give me 2 more days. I can join your team and continue to investigate." The injured person shouted. Zhonggu smiled and patted him on the shoulder. He praised him, but he knew very well that the injured person's leg injury would take at least a week to recover. "What about you?" Zhonggu walked to the next injured person. This injured person was an old dwarf. His face was full of wrinkles, and his beard was gray and white. The old dwarf smiled and said, "I'm dying, Master Zhonggu. My last wish was to have a glass of beer, to be able to drink a cup of wine before I die. I can die without regrets." Zhonggu was silent. Sandao laughed and scolded. "Old thing, you want to cheat me out of my wine again? Your injury won't kill you." The old dwarf frowned. "Without wine, I'm afraid I won't be able to survive. If you don't have beer, rum is fine too." Zhonggu could only say, "I'll think of something." The old dwarf's eyes lit up. "Thank you, sir. As long as you have wine, I'm willing to give you my life." After a round of inspection, Zhonggu went to the innermost part of the tent. There was a wounded man lying here. His injuries were very serious. His whole body was red and swollen. The wound on his back was no longer bleeding, but it was already suppurating. His entire body emitted a foul stench. The wounded man did not react to Zhong Ji's arrival. He was not unconscious. To be more precise, he was unconscious. If he stopped breathing in the next moment, no one would be surprised. Sandao's eyes dimmed. He was very familiar with this wounded man. They had fought together, drank together, and trekked together for more than 10 years. Everyone knew that there was not much hope left for him. Zhonggu touched his forehead. It was frighteningly hot. Then he checked the wound on his back. The situation was dire. Zhonggu first used a dagger to warm it by the fire. He used the blade to cut open the rotten flesh on the wound. Then he dipped a clean cloth in water and started to clean his wound. The water was boiled and cooled down. Finally, Zhonggu bent down and used his mouth to suck away the pus and blood that was seeping out of the wound. After treating the wound, Zhonggu sprinkled the medicine on the wound. The unconscious wounded man did not react. His breathing seemed to have weakened a little. During the whole process, Sandao stood in place and watched Zhonggu do this. This was not the first time Zhonggu did this. 3 days ago, this wounded man unintentionally protected Zhonggu because of his position. He blocked the sneak attack of the poisonous creatures for him. After being sent back to the camp, he fainted that night. Even after using Zidi's medicine, there was no effect. Over the past 3 days, his condition worsened. His chances of survival were getting slimmer. Zhonggu had done this on the first night. He fainted from his injuries. At the time, Sandao had tried to stop him, and the surrounding people had been shocked. He did this every day for the next few days. Sandao did not stop him anymore. The surrounding people's gaze towards Zhonggu gradually changed from shock to respect and love. After doing all this, Zhonggu and Sandao walked out of the central tent. At this time in the camp, there were a few bonfires. People surrounded the bonfires, eating dinner and chatting. From time to time, there was a burst of laughter. At this moment, their sour stomachs were satisfied, and their nerves, which had been stretched taut all day, relaxed. When Zhonggu arrived, the mercenaries in front moved their butts and made room for 2 people. Zhonggu and Sandao sat next to each other. The firelight shone on Zhong Ji's brown, shoulder-length hair. The warmth seeped into Zhongji's body through the gaps in his steel armor. Zhonggu pulled out a dagger from the inside of his steel boots. With a light cut, he cut out a piece of hot barbecue meat. With just a blow, he put the piece of meat into his mouth. He ate silently while listening to the surrounding people's discussion. Did you know? I thought that the bronze magical beast was dead. But when it pounced on me and tried to bite my head, I almost peed my pants. Just when I thought I was going to die, that white hammer suddenly smashed over. It brushed past my scalp and smashed that bronze magical beast into pieces. Blood and brain matter splattered all over my face. I swear I will never forget this experience. The surrounding people laughed. That bone hammer was carried by the two of us. It was given to that guy called Mu Ban. Boss Mangu is really strong. He can hold the bone hammer with one hand and spin it around. Today, at least 10 magical beasts died under the bone hammer. This is the bone of a crocodile hammertail centipede. I heard that the old scholar was making a lot of noise when he was dissecting it. He said that the tail bone was harder than the skull of a giant snake. Speaking of which, it's really a pity. Snake meat is very chewy. When Boss Zhonggu gave the crocodile hammertail centipede to them, we suffered a loss. TSK, did you dare to eat it that time? Did you dare to bet your life that it wasn't poisonous? Speaking of which, how are the results of Lord Jin's team today? Someone asked. At this time, the wounded in the camp told them the news. Lord Jin led the team back in the evening. So early again. Looks like we're definitely going to win. The Holy Knights aren't that great. Hey, you're talking big. You don't even put the Holy Knights in your eyes? The one I admire the most now is Boss Zhonggu. My life was saved by Boss Zhonggu. From now on, whatever Boss tells me to do, I'll do it. Hey, didn't you just say that? Boss just sat down to eat, and you shouted so loudly. You bootlicker. Everyone roared with laughter again. This is my team. Zhonggu remained silent. He ate the meat and looked at the bonfire in front of him, as if he was looking for his future in the light of the fire. If this continues, very good. Sandao sat beside Zhonggu and saw the unity of everyone. In just a few days, Sir has carved his authority in their hearts. If they follow Sir, they will definitely reach heights that I can't reach. Sandao was also full of hope. At this time, the guard at the camp gate came to report. After getting Zhongji's permission, the guard brought in a young man. You're called Baya? Zhonggu looked at the young man and spoke first. Baya was somewhat flattered. I didn't expect Sir Zhonggu to remember this humble one's name. Sandao said, What are you here for? Baya took out a map from his bosom. He raised his head and said in a proud tone, This map records the surroundings of the camp, all the terrain within 30,000 meters, as well as the distribution of the beasts. Just now, the Holy Knights, Lord Jin, received a gift from the Shengming Emperor when he was praying. All the information about the camp surroundings was transmitted to Lord Jin's mind. Lord Jin hurriedly wrote down 2 copies of the map and sent me to give one to Sir Zhonggu. Why are you staring at me? The noise and laughter from before disappeared without a trace, leaving only the flickering flames and the crackling sound of the firewood burning. Is that so? That's really good news. Zhonggu said calmly, breaking the silence. Sandao was awakened by these words. He hurriedly stood up and took the map Baya handed to him. Then, Sandao impatiently sat back down and opened the map in front of Zhonggu. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the map. The surroundings were so quiet that only the sound of the map being flipped open could be heard. A map with clear lines and a strict structure was displayed in front of Zhonggu and the others. Zhonggu and Sandao were silent again. After a long time, Sandao said in a dry voice, It seems that this map is real. All the places that we have explored are no different from the markings on this map. This map is even more precise and detailed than our results. Of course it's real. Baya raised his voice. We have also compared the map. The results of our investigations over the past few days are exactly the same as the map. This is a miracle. Of course, many of you don't believe in the Shengming Emperor. If you still don't want to believe it, you can continue to investigate and verify it. Once again, There was complete silence. "No need," Zhonggu said calmly. He stroked the map with his palm. "It's a bit of an exaggeration to say that this is a miracle, but this is indeed the power of God, because the terrain can be explored, but the distribution of each group of beasts, their size, number, and even the level of life forms are all very detailed. Although we can do this, it would take an unimaginable amount of time and effort." As expected of Sir Zhonggu, Baya praised. "When the Lord Jinjin sent me, he said that Sir Zhonggu is a man of wisdom. You will definitely be the first to verify the authenticity of this map." Zhonggu was speechless. Baya continued, "Master Jinjun is still very worried about the casualties on your side. In view of the fact that you have been sparing no effort in investigating these days, Master Jinjun is still worried about the casualties on your side. The Lord Jinjin said that this time, we will be responsible for clearing out all the groups of beasts with silver tier beasts on the map." Silence reigned once more. Chapter 113. The trees here were taller than usual. Layers upon layers of emerald green leaves almost covered the sky. Zhang Jin led a group of people here, but did not go deep into the forest, because he knew that there was a group of bat monkeys living here. Jin Jin and the others stepped on the edge of the bat monkeys' territory and immediately stopped. "Let's begin," Jin Jin ordered. Baya led the people and placed the dry firewood and other things on several piles, just in time to see the group gathered in the center. Several people took out star flints, which collided with each other and produced sparks. The sparks first fell into the fluffy wood shavings and wood powder, which quickly burned. Then, the team members placed the wood shavings and wood powder on top of the pile of dry firewood. The dry firewood burned. The flames gradually grew stronger, and many large bonfires were successfully formed. Zhen Jin took out paper packets from his bosom and distributed them to the others. The others came to the bonfire and took advantage of the fact that the bonfire was not big enough to get close to them to quickly open the paper packets, revealing the brown powder inside. They sprinkled the powder into the bonfire, and soon, the smoke from the bonfire began to change color. The smoke quickly expanded, not completely rising into the sky with the heat, but rather settling down, enveloping the entire group and spreading to the surroundings. There seemed to be a scream in the distance, as if a bat monkey had discovered the abnormality here. Zhang Jin was carrying a quiver of arrows, and he took out an arrow from the quiver. This arrow was specially made by Mu Ban himself. The shaft was hollow, and there was a hole on the side of the arrowhead and another hole on the shaft. This was a whistling arrow. Zhang Jin also took out the crossbow on his back. This time, he had brought 3 sets of crossbows. 2 of them were continuous crossbows, and 1 was a waist crossbow. Magic crossbows aside, there were basically 3 types of normal crossbows that were manually loaded. 1 was the arm crossbow, 1 was the back crossbow, and 1 was the waist crossbow. As the name implied, the arm crossbow used strength in the arm to pull the bowstring. The back crossbow used strength in the legs to load the bowstring. A waist crossbow had a hook at the waist. When the crossbow was loaded, the user had to sit on the ground with both feet on the crossbow pole and hook the bowstring with the 2 ends of the waist hook. When loading the crossbow, the archer not only had to use the strength of his legs, but he also had to push his legs as straight as possible. His body also had to follow the momentum and fall backwards, coordinating with his fingers and arms to load the crossbow. The strength of a person's legs was often greater than that of their arms. Therefore, the weight of a waist crossbow is greater than that of a back crossbow, and the weight of a back crossbow is greater than that of an arm crossbow. The crossbow in Zhen Jin's hands was one of the 3 crossbows produced by the camp, and its quality was the best. He placed the crossbow on the ground, and it went past Zhen Jin's waist. The crossbow was also very wide, even wider than Zhen Jin's body. Zhen Jin didn't have a waist hook on his waist, so he reached out and pulled the bowstring. At the same time, he stepped on the crossbow with his feet. Then, he exerted strength in his arm and pulled hard. The crossbow at the waist was knocked. His every move was under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Seeing how easy it was for him to wind the needle, the eyes of the surrounding people lit up, revealing excitement and admiration. Jean put the whistling arrow on the crossbow, then raised the crossbow with one arm, as easily as lifting a piece of straw. This action caused a wave of admiration in everyone's hearts. Jean's finger gently pulled the trigger, and the whistling arrow shot out diagonally, not completely perpendicular to the ground. The whistling arrow drew a parabola in the air, letting out a sharp whistle all the way into the depths of the bat monkey's territory. The bat monkeys were very sensitive to sound. Soon, the forest became completely restless. A large number of bat monkeys flew into the sky, and when they saw Jean and the others, they immediately pounced on them. Jean pulled the crossbow and fired a few times, almost all of them missing, directly eliminating 3 black steel bat monkeys. The remaining 2 black steel bat monkeys hurriedly hid in the forest, constantly screaming, allowing the bronze bat monkeys to lead the main force and continue to attack the crowd. As the distance shortened, Baya and the others reloaded their crossbows to return fire. The bat monkeys were constantly hit by arrows, falling to the ground, dying in the midst of their charge. When less than 30% of the bat monkeys finally arrived in front of Baya and the others, they smelled the thick smoke. This smell attacked their sense of smell? No, more accurately, it destroyed their sense of smell. The bat monkeys' momentum instantly dissipated, and their formation completely collapsed. Some of them hovered in the air, some ran on the ground, and some jumped in the bushes, unable to charge forward. The thick smoke caused the bat monkeys to stop. This was the medicine that ZD had concocted. Previously, when the blue dog fox wolf's magical beast army attacked, it had bought enough time to wait for reinforcements, and could be said to have saved the camp. The same scene happened again. The bat monkeys could not charge into the smoke, but Jean and the others could use the bat monkeys as live targets to practice shooting. Soon, the hunt came to an end. The surrounding bat monkeys had all become corpses. Jean led the group to the depths of the bat monkey territory and found that the 2 black steel bat monkeys that were originally hiding there had already escaped. Jean and the others did not find it strange. This was not the first time they had fought with the bat monkeys. The bat monkeys were too nimble, and if the battle was unfavorable to them, they would most likely choose to escape, especially the black steel bat monkeys. As for the escape of the bat monkeys, Jean and the others did not have any good ideas other than shooting. They were not completely stronger than the magical beasts, but they were using the smoke to get the upper hand. Just as Jean was cleaning up the battlefield on a hillside, Sandow ran with all his might, escaping from a cave. Behind him, a monkey-tailed brown bear was in hot pursuit. Don't be fooled by the bear's fat body. When the bear charged, its speed was very fast. At the same level of life, a bear's speed was almost twice that of a human. Sandow was only bronze-ranked, while the monkey-tailed brown bear was a silver-ranked magical beast. The distance between the 2 sides rapidly decreased, and just as the goblin Sandow was about to be caught, the ground under the monkey-tailed brown bear suddenly collapsed. The monkey-tailed brown bear fell into the trap. This trap was very deep, and there were sharp wooden spears inside. After the monkey-tailed brown bear fell into the trap, it angrily roared. The wooden spears did not cause any serious injuries to it, and many of them broke after piercing through the bear's skin. The monkey-tailed brown bear looked up and saw a group of people appear beside the trap. Sandow, well done. Zongu praised. Sandow wiped the sweat off his forehead, panting, and did not answer, which was rare. His heart was still palpitating. Just now, he felt the aura of death. Of course, the trap was painstakingly dug by Zongu and the others. The trap was very deep, and even if the monkey-tailed brown bear stood up, it could not reach half the depth of the trap. Moreover, the walls of the trap were as vertical and smooth as possible. Shoot! Zongu waved his hand, and the surrounding team members took out their crossbows and shot at the monkey-tailed brown bear. For a moment, the monkey-tailed brown bear seemed to have suffered a heavy downpour. After all, the monkey-tailed brown bear was a silver-ranked magical beast, and after being hit by the rain of arrows, it was furious. Its palm changed, and its sharp fingertips, which seemed to be made of black iron, became red-hot, as if it was just taken out from an iron furnace. The monkey-tailed brown bear used its fingertips to pierce the wall, and at the same time, it used its legs to quickly climb up the inner wall of the trap. However, just as it poked its head out from the edge of the trap, a huge white bone hammer ruthlessly struck its head. With a bang, the surrounding people's hearts trembled. The monkey-tailed brown bear was hit by a huge force, and once again fell to the bottom of the trap. It shook its head, dispelled the dizziness, and fought again, roaring angrily at the culprit Zongu. In response, it was met with another rain of arrows. In this way, the monkey-tailed brown bear continuously tried to climb out of the trap, but it was continuously knocked down by Zongu and fell to the bottom of the trap. In endless grievance and resentment, this silver-ranked magical beast fell into a pool of its own blood. When the afterglow of the setting sun shone on the horizon, Zhang and the others were the first to return to the camp. They brought back a large number of bat monkey corpses, and their main goal today was to clear out the bat monkey group. There were more than 10 black steel bat monkeys, and 2 or 3 of them were dismembered by Zhang rapier. The smoke did not deter the black steel bat monkeys that much. At least when the black steel bat monkeys were unable to hold back their anger, they would rush into the smoke to kill. However, the black steel bat monkeys that tried to do so all died in the hands of Zhang. From this, it could be seen that bestiality was indeed hard to grasp. Zhang's triumphant return made the camp burst into cheers. When Zhang and the others were having dinner, Zongu and the others also came back. Shisua guarded the camp entrance and stopped them. After reporting to Zhang, and after Zhang agreed, Zongu and the others were able to enter the camp. They brought back a total of 3 monkey-tailed brown bear corpses. The people in the camp were shocked. After all, these were 3 silver-ranked magical beasts. When Zongu took out the bone hammer from his back and was about to hand it over to Mu Ban for repair, everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. This was because they discovered that the wooden handle of the bone hammer had already been broken due to the excessive force used. Zhongji's bravery was shocking. Zongu looked around, and his gaze paused on Zhang, who was standing by the bonfire in the distance. Then he looked at Mu Ban. Can it be repaired? Mu Ban rolled his eyes and put down the bowl in his hand. In this situation, repairing it would be a waste of effort. It will be better to make a new wooden handle. This is only the first day. The only way you can use it is to change the wooden handle to an iron handle. Zongu shook his head. Make do with it. Iron can still be used to make arrowheads. The wooden arrowheads are useless, and the bone arrowheads are also barely effective. ZD walked over at this time. Although my medicine can dissolve and purify iron, it consumes a lot of iron. Only with a large amount of iron, or can we make enough iron arrowheads? Maybe, Zongu, you can lead people to mine. Zongu shook his head. He had no interest in mining, but ZD handed him a list at this time. Zongu looked at the list, and his expression changed slightly. A silver-ranked brown bear could be exchanged for 10 rear crossbows, or 2 waist crossbows, or 20 new arm crossbows. What kind of price is this? It's just some crossbows. Why do we need to exchange for them? After all, we're not an army. Zongu. ZD smiled. I think this is very fair. Zongu was about to sneer, but Zhang also walked over. The young knight said, I swear on my honor, I also exchanged according to the rules. This will be a fair competition. Zongu looked at the waist crossbow behind him. Temple Knight, what did you exchange for the crossbow? Today's bat monkey? The list did not say that you can buy it on credit. Zhang shrugged. Of course it's my previous battle results. Don't forget, I killed a blue dog fox wolf. Zongu raised his eyebrows slightly. He thought of the crocodile hammertail centipede he killed. But ZD said again, your battle results have already been exchanged. Zongu, don't forget, you took those crossbows from the camp before. Zongu and the others. Chapter 114. She is indeed the current president of the Wisteria Chamber of Commerce. It seems that I have underestimated her. Zonga looked at ZD in a new light. Back then, Zonga had led a group of people to take the crossbows away by force. Of course, they had a legitimate reason to do so. It was to investigate the situation near the camp, and the crossbows could reduce casualties. However, when Junjin took out the map, a problem arose. Even Zongge and the others benefited from Junjin's map. Zongji's investigation results were completely covered by Junjin's map. Not only that, the appearance of the map shook the hearts of the former mercenaries of the Sandao, destroying their pride and enthusiasm. From then on, these former mercenaries thoroughly understood the significance of Junjin's identity. No one dared to look down on Junjin anymore. Everyone realized that even if Junjin was reduced to an island without the help of his family, he still had a backer. This backer was comparable to the heavens and the earth. The Holy Knights believed in the Shengming Emperor, who was a living god. He might even be the strongest living god. Zongge and the others had paid a heavy price. They worked hard every day, leaving early and returning late. 2 of them died, and many were injured. However, the result was not as good as Junjin's prayer. The cold truth was in front of everyone's eyes. Once again, it told everyone that there was a huge gap between people in terms of status. After being taught a lesson, Zongge and the others looked at Junjin in front of them. Even if the latter was just standing there, they felt a pressure that they had never felt before. Many people even subconsciously slowed down their breathing. Holy Night. After a long time, Zongge looked at Junjin. His voice seemed to be a little hoarse. Then I can only believe in your credibility. Of course. Zongge, I swear on the honor of my Hundred Needles clan, and I swear on my name as a knight that this will be fair. Junjin's words were straightforward and forceful. Please believe me, gentlemen. We are not an army, nor are we a mercenary group. This system is only to bring us closer together. Let each of us understand how much we have contributed to the collective. And for every contribution, there should be a corresponding positive reward. We should not let every one of our members go unrewarded. No matter who he is, no matter what his identity is, he cannot bleed for nothing. He cannot sacrifice himself for nothing. Zongji's eyes flashed with a cold light. He felt that Junjin's words had a deeper meaning and contained a hidden stab. The others looked at the golden-haired young man in front of them, and their suspicions gradually faded. ZD added, Everyone, it's not like the contents of the list can't be changed. If you have any opinions or think that there's something unreasonable, we could discuss it. Everyone's expression softened a little. Sandao's face was still cold. He had dealt with merchants many times. His past experience told him that merchants were usually very good at talking. They could make dead things come back to life. When arguing with them, it was usually the mercenaries who were at a disadvantage. But this time, Zongge had already passed the list to him. Sandao, what do you think is a better exchange? Zongji's words made Junjin and ZD feel relieved. Since Zongge had already approved of this system, Sandao had nothing to say. He carefully looked at the contents of the list. With his experience as a mercenary group leader, he immediately recognized the last valuable item on the list. We need crossbows and iron arrows. The stronger the crossbow, the less casualties we will have. Of course, the next step will depend on what your target is, sir. If it's still the monkey-tailed brown bear, we will exchange it for the most powerful crossbow. If it's the bat monkey or the flying squirrel, we will exchange it for the armed crossbow. We will try to make it so that everyone has one. The crossbows we got before were already terrible. Now, most of them have been scrapped. Zongge nodded. Then we will exchange it for the armed crossbow. In other words, he still want to hunt the monkey-tail brown bear. We only have 2 sets of armed crossbows. The new armed crossbows will only be ready at least 3 days later, ZD reminded. Sandao frowned slightly. Only 2 armed crossbows were too few. They could only settle for the next best thing, which was the armed crossbow. But when he asked, ZD told him that the armed crossbows had already been exchanged by Junjin and the others. After all, Junjin had returned to the camp ahead of time. Sandao was so angry that he laughed. So, we can only exchange for the armed crossbow? You might as well just say it. ZD smiled. There are many healing potions on the list. I believe they're also necessary supplies. I didn't include the potions that Lord Jinjin gave you before. Sandao choked and couldn't refute. ZD showed an obvious apologetic expression, and her tone was even more sincere. Everyone, we all know what the current situation is. We have only just gained a foothold here, and there are many things waiting to be done. Our resources are limited, and we don't have a mature workshop or production line. So, whether it is potions or crossbows, the output is not high. The shortage of resources on the list is a very normal thing, and it will last for a long time. I hope you can understand. The people around looked at each other, and some of them nodded subconsciously. Basically, they all agreed with ZD's words. At this time, Jinjin looked at Zonge. Actually, I would suggest that Zonge and the others exchange for the armed crossbow. Today, we cleared out 3 groups of bat monkeys. We found that most of the black steel bat monkeys will take the initiative to run away when the situation is unfavorable. The rest of the bronze bat monkeys and normal bat monkeys also have the behavior of running away after being defeated. Bat monkeys can fly, and their speed in the forest is astonishing. We can't catch up. According to scholar Tsang Su's deduction, bat monkeys are animals that live in groups. These fleeing bat monkeys will regroup and form a new group of beasts. What's more likely is that most of them will be swallowed up by the old bat monkeys. In this way, the more bat monkeys we clear out, the larger the remaining bat monkeys will be, and the harder it will be to kill them. Zonge, my idea is that we work together and eliminate the largest group of bat monkeys near the camp. Zonge immediately thought of the information on the map. The largest group of bat monkeys had a silver-ranked bat monkey leader. It was indeed the most threatening group of beasts. Zonge thought for a while and nodded in agreement. According to the contents of the list, a silver-ranked monkey-tail brown bear could be exchanged for 20 arm crossbows. Zonge killed 3 monkey-tail brown bears and could exchange them for 60 arm crossbows. However, there were only 40 or so arm crossbows in the camp. Zonge and Sandao discussed for a while and decided to exchange all the arm crossbows first so that everyone would have a good crossbow. Then, they changed the healing potions, pink signpost potions, smoke potions to repel the bat monkeys, and so on. The next day, Zhanjin, Zonge, Sandao, Lanzhao, Heiwan, Baya, and the rest set out together to clear out the largest group of silver-ranked bat monkeys. They still used the smoke potion tactic from before. The whistling arrows attracted a large number of bat monkeys. First, Baya and the rest squatted on the ground and fired the arm crossbows. By the time the bat monkey got closer, Sandao and the others could finally use their elongated crossbows. The bat monkeys were killed by the arrows, and this angered the entire group. Very quickly, the silver-ranked bat monkeys also rose into the air, leading 20 or so black steel bat monkeys, and approached Jinjin and the rest. Zhanjin observed silently and realized that the silver-ranked bat monkey leader was bigger than the black steel bat monkeys, and its wings were wider. When it stood on the ground, if it didn't squat, it was almost as tall as Zhanjin. After converting it, my bat monkey form can be upgraded to silver-ranked. It was very difficult for Jinjin to kill the silver-ranked bat monkey leader by himself. After all, the bat monkey leader had a large number of bat monkeys protecting it. But now, with the help of the group, the normal bat monkeys had suffered heavy casualties, and many of the bronze bat monkeys had also died. Especially when the bat monkeys were almost in front of the group, they were forced back by the thick smoke, and their formation was disrupted. At such a close distance, Baya and the rest's accuracy was greatly improved, and the number of bat monkeys' casualties instantly increased. The one with the most outstanding battle results was naturally Zhanjin. He held a crossbow in each hand. A crossbow should be held with both hands, with one hand stabilizing the crossbow and the other pulling the trigger. But Zhanjin directly held the trigger and constantly flicked his wrist. The 2 crossbows vibrated continuously, and arrows flew out one after another, almost forming 2 dotted lines. Wherever the dotted lines went, the bat monkeys fell. Zhanjin's killing efficiency was undeniably the best. Even Zhonggu was surprised and sighed in his heart that he was indeed a descendant of the Hundred Needles clan. Although he had practiced his archery for many years, compared to Jinjin, he immediately paled in comparison. Clearing out the silver-ranked bat monkeys had become a stage for Jinjin to show off his archery skills. The silver-ranked bat monkey leader was finally angered and led all the black steel bat monkeys to pounce. Their target was Zhenjin. Zhenjin's iron head arrow shot towards the silver-ranked bat monkey, but it easily dodged. Its agility was completely above the black steel bat monkeys, and it was like a purple-black ghost. "Cooperate!" Zhonggu suddenly shouted. The silver-ranked bat monkey dived into the thick smoke, and Zhenjin stayed in place. Suddenly, he retreated, and Zhonggu bravely stepped forward. The white-bone hammer swept fiercely and hit the silver-ranked bat monkey, sending it flying like a rubber ball. The silver-ranked bat monkey let out a sharp cry and crashed into a tree trunk, breaking the tree behind it. It spat out a mouthful of blood, and its eyes were filled with fear. It immediately flew up into the sky and did not want to dive down again. Seeing their leader's actions, some of the black steel bat monkeys flew up into the sky, while the others continued to charge and died at the hands of Shi Sa, Lan Zhao, Sandao, and the others who had been waiting for a long time. Casualties also appeared in the team. Many of the black steel bat monkeys had sacrificed themselves, but they also gained a portion of the battle results. Seeing that 80% of its beasts had died, the silver-ranked bat monkey leader let out a sorrowful cry. Then it took a deep breath and exploded with a sound wave attack. The 10 or so black steel bat monkeys beside it also released sound waves. Even so, the combined sound waves of the black steel bat monkeys were far less powerful than the silver-ranked bat monkey leader. The sound waves enveloped the area, and translucent ripples appeared in the air. The thick smoke was disturbed by the sound waves and actually spread rapidly. At this rate, the smoke would soon be cleared out. Baya and the others covered their ears with all their might and fell to the ground, crying and howling in pain. And this was under the condition that they had already stuffed something in their ears. Even Lan Zhao, Shi Suo, and the others' bodies swayed, and they could not stand firm. The rain of arrows stopped immediately. Only Zhonggu and Jinjin were still standing straight. Zhenjin resisted the irritation and dizziness, and hurriedly ordered people to replenish the powder. At the same time, he used his crossbow to shoot at the bat monkeys in the air. The crossbow's weight was the highest, and the iron arrows it shot out severely disrupted the bat monkey's ability to maintain the sound waves. Many black steel bat monkeys were shot to death by Jinjin. In the end, the silver-ranked bat monkey leader was also disrupted by the flying arrows, and its sound waves were intermittent, and it could not display its full power. Zhonggu had already walked out of the formation and rushed into the group of normal bat monkeys and started a massacre. The white-bone hammer was ferocious, and even the black steel bat monkeys would die on the spot if they were hit. In the end, the silver-ranked bat monkey leader let out a sorrowful cry and voluntarily flew away from its home. This largest group of bat monkeys was almost completely wiped out by the cooperation of Jinjin, Zhonggu, and the others. The remaining black steel bat monkeys also scattered in all directions and did not follow the silver-ranked bat monkey leader. After resting on the spot, the group cleaned up the battlefield and finally returned victorious. The campsite was filled with jubilation, and the unprecedented number of bat monkey corpses were piled up in a corner of the campsite temporarily, and it was difficult to deal with them in time. According to Zhang Jin's idea, Fat Tongue was in charge of the preparations, and the group held a simple, celebratory feast. Even though there was a lack of food, because of the wine, the atmosphere of the feast was always lively. Everyone surrounded Jinjin, praising his bravery and his unfailing archery skills. The original members of the mercenary group also looked at him with reverence. It was because of Zhang Jin's interference that the silver-ranked bat monkey leader was forced to retreat. Zhang Jin was definitely a key figure in this battle. Zhang Jin became the main character of the feast and the focus of everyone's attention. Zhonggu was only accompanied by Sandao, and although the two of them were sitting in conspicuous positions, it gave people the feeling that they were sitting in a corner. Chapter 115. Sir, this is the newly made crocodile skin armor. At night, Sang-Soo paid a visit to Jinjin and brought a set of thick leather armor. The leather armor was made from crocodile-headed hammertail crocodiles. Although the craftsmanship was rough, it was made from silver-rank materials, so its defense was far superior to Jinjin's normal leather armor. In fact, even thin iron armor and chainmail were inferior to it. Jinjin's interest was piqued. While trying on, he asked, "Tell me, what did you learn from dissecting this crocodile-headed hammertail centipede? What were its weaknesses and strengths? There are 3 more silver-tier magical beasts near the camp. How should we deal with them?" Sang-Soo reported, "Speaking of weaknesses, its biggest weakness is its poor hearing. Most snakes don't have an outer or middle ear, only an inner ear. There is no tympanic membrane, tympanum, or eustachian tube, only the auricular column. Therefore, the sound in the air could not be heard by the snake. However, because the inner end of the auricular bone was connected to the oval window of the inner ear, and the outer end of the auricular bone was connected to the center of the square bone, snakes were very sensitive to vibrations on the ground. When we walk, we use a wooden stick to hit the ground and grass in front of us to scare away ordinary snakes. That's the reason. Snakes have poor hearing, and the alligator-headed hammertail snakes have even worse hearing, because the dissection found that its hearing structure is more similar to that of a crocodile. Crocodiles don't even have ears. They use a small bone that supports their tongues to feel vibrations. However, the crocodile-headed hammertail centipede has the head of a crocodile, so its visual ability is far superior to that of a snake. It is especially good at peeking at the situation above the water from underwater. It had an instantaneous membrane in its field of vision, which is a natural diving goggles. Land snakes basically did not have this kind of goggles. It also had a valve in its throat that blocked its trachea. This way, the crocodile-headed hammertail centipede can open its mouth underwater without worrying about water entering its trachea. From this, it can also be inferred that a silver-ranked magical beast like the crocodile-headed hammertail centipede is also very powerful underwater. Other than the alligator's terrifying bite force, the alligator-headed hammertail centipede's strongest weapon is its snake body. The squeezing force produced by the entanglement was enormous. Sir, you must have seen Zhong Ji's steel armor. The deformation on it was caused by the crocodile head hammertail centipede. And the third weapon is the crocodile head hammer, the tail hammer of the tail crocodile. The density of the bones in its tail was extremely high. With a swing of its tail, it could easily crush rocks and break wood. Even an iron gate wouldn't be able to withstand 2 or 3 strikes from the tail. The crocodile-headed hammertail centipede's body isn't covered in snake scales, but the even thicker crocodile skin. This can make most of the crossbow bolts return with no effect. The only thing that can really cause damage is the iron-headed bolts fired from the waist crossbow. When Jinjin heard this, he couldn't help but ask, "Then what about compared to the spear scorpion leader?" Sang-Soo thought for a moment and immediately replied, "The scorpion shell is much tougher than the crocodile's skin. Even an iron-head crossbow wouldn't be able to penetrate a silver-ranked scorpion shell." Jinjin nodded. At this moment, he was already wearing a full set of leather armor and a leather helmet on his head. The first thing he felt was heaviness. The second thing he felt was that when he moved, it was restricted and inconvenient. After all, the people who made the leather armor didn't specialize in making armor, nor did they make clothing. But compared to the previous leather armor, the increase in defense was more than 1 level. If it was a normal person, this leather armor would have more advantages than disadvantages for them. But for Jinjin, the crocodile leather armor became a burden. It wasn't convenient for him to say this yet. Right now, he could only praise against his will. "It's a good leather armor." Sang-Soo said, "I must remind you, sir, that the defense of this leather armor will continue to decrease as time passes. We handled it too crudely." The skin of the crocodile head hammer centipede was, of course, a magical material. But low-level magic and Do Chi were prohibited here, so the leather armor on Jun Jin's body was simply cut, sewn, and made use of the physical properties. There was no real deep-level processing. In time, the end of this leather armor would be the same as the spider blade that Jun Jin assembled before. Seeing Jun Jin nodding slightly, Song Su said again, "There's one more thing I want to remind you, sir. Be careful of Zhongge. To be able to kill this crocodile head-hammer centipede with his own strength is enough to prove Zhong Ji's strength. Sir's equipment is far inferior to Zhong Ji's. Zhong Ji's steel armor is better than Sir's. His bone hammer is very threatening. Even a monkey-tail brown bear couldn't resist it. And the pair of short spears he has never used before, but from the looks of it, it is extraordinary. From my many years of experience, Zhongge is not the kind of person who is willing to be under others. Although he agreed to the exchange system today, it doesn't mean that he is soft and obedient. Sir, please be careful of this person. If he challenges you in public, it will be a big problem. His Beastman bloodline gives him a unique advantage on this island. Thank you for your reminder. I understand." Jin Jin asked Song Su to leave. Wearing this crocodile head armor would cause poor rest, so even though it was troublesome to take it off, Jun Jin still took it off. He rested on the bed for a few hours, and when it was late at night, he put on the crocodile head armor again. After tidying up all his equipment, he walked out of the camp again. The guard were already familiar with Jin Jun's behavior of patrolling at night. Coming to a corner of the dark forest where there was no one, Jun Jin took off all his equipment again and transformed into a black steel bat monkey. The bat monkey Jun Jin shuttled through the forest nimbly. Sometimes he would jump between the branches, sometimes he would spread his wings and glide, and sometimes he would stop and stand on the canopy, sniffing the night wind. His nose had already turned into the nose of the blue dog fox wolf. In the past few days of training, he accidentally discovered the wonderful use of the wolf's nose. That was, he could detect the surrounding beasts through smell. This was also why the blue dog fox wolf was able to lead the magical beast army and accurately find the location of the beasts in the vast forest and then subdue them. But this time, Jin Jin wasn't looking for a group of beasts. Instead, he was chasing after the silver bat monkey leader. During the day, Jun Jin relied on the people to defeat the entire bat monkey group, and most of the bat monkeys became food reserves. The silver bat monkeys were injured and ran away pathetically. When Jin Jin cleaned up the battlefield, he purposely picked up the arrows that had the silver bat monkey's blood on them and memorized their smell. The smell would linger for a period of time, and for Jun Jin, who had the nose of a wolf, this was an extremely obvious clue. And now, the position of the silver bat monkey leader was far beyond the detection range of the ultrasonic wave. The ultrasonic wave detection range is very wide and very accurate, but tracking still depends on smell. Jin Jin summed up his experience in practice. Found it. Not long after, Jun Jin found the target on the canvas drawn by the ultrasonic wave. The silver bat monkey was injured. Although it had retreated, it was still nearby and did not run far. Behind it gathered a few more bat monkeys, iron, bronze, and even more normal beasts. The appeal of a silver bat monkey was different. Just like how people wanted to curry favor and rely on strong people like Jin Jin and Zhongge, the bat monkeys had the same habit. Without any hesitation, Jun Jin rushed towards the silver bat monkey, just like that. At this time, he canceled the mutation of the wolf's nose, making him look like a wandering black steel bat monkey. The effect of this was that when Jun Jin flew into the warning range of the silver bat monkey, it still stayed in the same place, not moving at all. When Jin Jin was only 200 to 300 meters away from it, the silver bat monkey let out a shrill cry, spread its wings, and straightened its body, making itself look even more majestic. Jin Jin lowered his head and bent his waist, showing his submission. The silver bat monkey was very satisfied. It had discovered Jun Jin a long time ago. The reason it stayed here was to subdue Jin Jin. Jin Jin looked like he had been subdued. He retracted his wings, and jumped closer to the silverbat monkey. The silverbat monkey did not feel anything. It had already done this many times in the past 10 hours. Otherwise, where did these bat monkeys come from? When Jinjin climbed onto the branch beside the silverbat monkey's feet, the bat monkey felt a little suspicious. This new little brother seemed to be a little too enthusiastic towards it. But in the next moment, a red light flashed, and Jinjin's head turned into a crocodile's head. Jinjin opened his mouth and bit down on the silverbat monkey's head. After being attacked, the silverbat monkey subconsciously clawed at Jinjin. The black steel bat monkey's body could not withstand the silverbat monkey's sharp claws. But Jinjin had already expected this, and a scorpion shell appeared on his chest. The bat monkey's claws scratched the scorpion shell, almost breaking its claws. The silverbat monkey instantly realized how strong Jinjin was. Its wings flapped violently, and at the same time, it breathed heavily, wanting to open its mouth and release sound waves. Under the stimulation of death, the bat monkey exploded with sound waves like never before. But Jinjin felt much better than when he was in his human form. The crocodile hammertail monkey's hearing was very poor. Then Jinjin's arms mutated, turning into thick and strong bear arms. The two four-fingered palms at the front of the bear arms grabbed the silver bat monkey's wings. In the next moment, the bear arms pulled with force. With a ripping sound, the silver bat monkey's wings were torn off by Jinjin. For a moment, blood spurted out, and the silverbat monkey screamed miserably. The sound wave attack came to an abrupt end. Without the interference of the sound waves, Jinjin bit down fiercely again. The crocodile hammertail monkey's head exploded with a terrifying bite force, and with a crunch, it crushed the bat monkey's head. The silverbat monkey died on the spot. The surrounding bat monkeys screamed and fled in panic. Everything happened too quickly. When the silverbat monkeys had just realized that something was wrong, Jinjin had already mutated repeatedly, firmly locking in the victory. The bat monkey's struggle and resistance only lasted for a few breaths before it was killed by Jinjin, who had been planning this for a long time. In the eyes of the other bat monkeys, they saw one of their kind suddenly turn into a monster with a crocodile head, a pair of bear arms, and a scorpion shell on its chest. The monster was terrifying and savage, and the bat monkey sound wave attack had almost no lethality. The powerful bat monkey struggled madly, but it couldn't escape the fate of death. P.S. Fix typos in sections 1 to 114, improve the details of the smoke's temperature in section 101, and fixed a bug in the ultrasonic detection in section 102 where there was a loss of different media. While fixing the typos, I realized that the quality of the writing in the past week had dropped slightly compared to the previous chapters. Ever since the novel was published, it has been updated twice a day, causing the progress of my daily study schedule to become very slow. This novel's positioning is to reach the moon. If I blindly write more because of the pressure of pennies, I will be the first to despise myself. Learning from his painful experience, I will adjust the update to 1 update a day starting tomorrow, and the update will be at noon. The duration of the new update plan is still to be determined. When I feel that the quality is guaranteed and I can update twice a day, I will speed it up again. Everything is based on quality. I want to write a good novel that meets the standards of my heart. Chapter 116. There was no moon tonight. In the dark forest, the cold wind shuttled back and forth like a ghost. The corpse of the silverbat monkey was pieced together. Because it was a warm-blooded animal, its body was not completely cold. Jinjin had now transformed into a complete black steel bat monkey. The multiple transformations from before had consumed a lot of mana. According to my previous speculation, mutation is a simple life form. The organs and body parts are coordinated and can support each other. But when there are multiple transformations, more of the burden is borne by the magic crystal in the heart, so the mana consumption is more intense. Jinjin suppressed this further speculation. He looked at the corpse of the bat monkey in front of him and wanted to make a new attempt. Activating the core, he once again sent out 4 bloodlines from his palm. The bloodlines entwined and sank. After a few breaths, the bloodlines reappeared and completely transformed the bat monkey's wings, sending the essence into the core. Jinjin checked it and was overjoyed. Now, I could become a complete silverbat monkey. As soon as this thought came to his mind, the red light surged and covered his entire body. In the red light, his blurry figure quickly grew taller and the wings on his back became wider. After the red light dissipated, the silverbat monkey Jinjin was standing in the same place. My strength has increased, but I still can't compare to the monkey-tail brown bear. Sound! Jinjin took a deep breath and listened. He found that the silverbat monkey's hearing was stronger than that of an ironbat monkey, and its range of sound was wider. He tried to send out an ultrasound. It worked on the first try. A canvas appeared in his mind, and all kinds of things around him were presented on the canvas. The canvas quickly spread until it was more than 2,000 meters away, and then the edges began to blur. It seems that the silverbat monkey's ultrasound detection range is twice that of an ironbat monkey. Jinjin closed his mouth and stopped making sounds. Then he opened it again. The ultrasound was successfully activated again. He did this again and again, and found that the ultrasound could be successfully sent out every time. It seems that my intuition was right. The silverbat monkey's vocal cords are more stable, and it's easier to make sounds. I've been training every night for the past few days. In my black steelbat monkey form, I can already send out ultrasonic waves with a success rate of 8 to 9 times out of 10. Now, in the silverbat monkey form, I can achieve a 100% success rate. My experiment this time has also produced results. Because I've absorbed enough low-level life forms of the same species, my bloodline's information storage is very complete. Absorbing a high-level life form doesn't even need to be complete. I only need a part of it to obtain bloodline information, allowing me to become a complete high-level life form. Jinjin quickly cleaned up the surroundings. He had other things to do. The target of tonight's operation was not just a silverbat monkey. He grabbed the silverbat monkey's body with his feet, flapped his wings a few times, and quickly rose into the air, leaving the scene of the murder. Half an hour later, he arrived at the settlement of a group of flying squirrels. This was the largest group of flying squirrels in the vicinity of the campsite. There were 2 silver-ranked flying squirrels. Jinjin flew to the edge and saw the silverbat monkey's corpse in the treetops. He used ultrasound to investigate. Flying squirrels lived in tree holes and underground, but under the ultrasound, they were all revealed one by one. Because flying squirrels had different life levels, their body sizes were also different. Black iron and bronze-ranked flying squirrels also had some small external characteristics, which allowed Jinjin to determine their corresponding life levels. The results of the investigation were the same as before. Jinjin directly flew into the territory of the flying squirrels. Sensing an intruder, the swarm of flying squirrels became restless. Soon, a group of flying squirrels under the lead of a silverbat monkey pounced on Jinjin. Jinjin watched the swarm of flying squirrels approach and stood proudly on a branch. When they were close enough, he opened his mouth and sent out a sound wave attack. He had mastered the technique of sound wave attacks a long time ago. As far as Jinjin was concerned, it was even more difficult to send out ultrasonic waves than sound wave attacks. Human ears could hear sound waves, but they could not hear ultrasonic waves. The essence of sound wave attacks was not high-frequency sound, but a stronger aura that drove the vocal cords to produce a louder sound. Flying squirrels had very sensitive hearing. These creatures dug underground and searched for food through their sense of hearing and taste. They could not see, but their sense of hearing was very strong. This advantage became their fatal weakness in the face of the sound waves. Back then, Jinjin had seen the blue dog fox wolf command a large number of black ironbat monkeys and send out sound waves to wipe out a swarm of flying squirrels with silverbat monkeys. Now, Jinjin was in the form of a silverbat monkey. The sound wave attack he sent out was even more powerful than the combined strength of the black ironbat monkeys. Under the influence of the sound wave, the previously aggressive swarm of flying squirrels collapsed. The flying squirrels screeched as a large number of them were killed by the sound wave. The silverbat monkey wanted to resist, but Junjin increased the volume again, and the silverbat monkey fainted on the spot. In an instant, Junjin ended the battle. More flying squirrels scurried out of the rat hole, wanting to escape. In a sense, the bat monkeys were the natural enemies of flying squirrels. The one leading the escape was another silverbat monkey. Of course, Junjin would not let them go. He sent out another sound wave and killed most of the flying squirrels. The other silverbat monkey fainted as well. Next, the heart core absorbed the flying squirrels' corpses. The magic energy reserves in the heart core rose steadily and reached the highest level in history. At the moment, Junjin had not discovered the limit of the magic energy reserves. Junjin thought for a moment and killed the two silverbat monkeys. His heart core absorbed and transformed one of them. After doing this, Junjin's flying squirrel form was upgraded to silver. It's a pity that I can't discharge electricity. Junjin had tried many times in this regard, but he could not figure out how to discharge electricity. Junjin could emit ultrasonic waves like the bat monkeys, because they came from the vibrations of the vocal cords. Junjin also used human vocal cords to speak. This kind of life activity was very similar, but discharge electricity was different. Humans could never discharge electricity. According to Song Su's autopsy, the flying squirrels discharged electricity through thin pieces of muscle all over their bodies. These thin pieces of muscle were similar to eels that could discharge electricity in water. Therefore, the flying squirrels discharged electricity through internal muscle movements. However, Junjin was very unfamiliar with this area. He knew nothing about it. It was more difficult to learn how to discharge electricity than to emit ultrasonic waves. Therefore, this time, Junjin did not kill the unconscious bronze bat monkeys and black steel bat monkeys. He deliberately left some of them behind. These are my pets. Junjin wanted to observe them and learn how they discharge electricity. After cleaning up the battlefield again and removing the ash left behind by the heart core, Junjin took the corpses of the silverbat monkeys, the silver flying squirrels, and the still unconscious flying squirrels and set off again. It took a lot of time, and Junjin was quite far away from the camp. Therefore, Junjin chose to return to the camp directly. Junjin flew in the air with the silverbat monkey. Because he was holding the corpses with his hands and feet, he could not climb and jump freely in the forest. The cold night wind could not cool Junjin's boiling blood. In the past, Junjin had led everyone to do their best to deal with a group of flying squirrels that only had a black steel leader. Now, he had single-handedly annihilated an even larger group of flying squirrels. After this night, his bat monkey and flying squirrel forms had both leveled up to silver. His spear scorpion form was also silver. Because he had eaten a lot of bear and snake meat these days, he could transform into many parts of the monkey tail brown bear, crocodile head, and hammertail bear. This was especially so for the monkey tail brown bear, which was not far from its complete form. As long as I have enough time, I can become the king of the island. The cold wind whistled in Junjin's ears. He flapped his bat wings agilely, controlling every gust of wind that blew at him. His broad bat wings streaked across the treetops. Countless beasts in the pitch-black forest sensed Junjin's aura of life. They all fled in panic or curled up in a ball, trembling in fear. Junjin looked down at the forest beneath his feet. At this moment, he felt that he was stepping on the forest and the earth. Even though he could not see clearly, he could detect everything within a 2-kilometer radius with his ultrasound. Nothing could escape Junjin's detection. Now, I'm the best hunter. There is no prey that can escape my pursuit. The reason why I don't kill them is because I don't want to, not because I can't. Soon, the campsite's flames appeared at the end of his vision. Junjin found a place to take off his clothes. He temporarily discarded the magical beasts in his hands and transformed back into his human form. Then he put on his equipment. After tidying himself up, he brought the magical beasts, dead or alive, to the camp's gate. It's Lord Jinjin. Oh my God, what did he bring back? When the guards saw Jinjin, they began to exclaim. Jinjin smiled faintly, but he sighed softly in his heart. He could not help but feel a surge of disappointment. Compared to my magical beast form, I'm really too weak now. I can only see the surroundings clearly because of the flames. My ears feel like they're blocked. My chances of winning against Zhonggu in my human form are not high. I have to learn how to discharge electricity as soon as possible. Stainless steel armor is very easy to conduct electricity. There seems to be movement from the campsite. In the tent, Zhonggu seemed to have sensed something. Jinjin is back. Zhonggu guessed in his heart. He also knew that Jinjin had the habit of patrolling at night. Tonight's celebration banquet made him lose his appetite. The list of items to be exchanged made it even more difficult for him to sleep tonight. He had already heard that this system was conceived and provided by the old scholar, Song Su. This old man has a lot of political skills. Zhong Ji's understanding of Song Su deepened. If Jinjin forcefully took in the people around him, it would be a bad thing. He was too impatient because Jinjin could not really resolve the conflict between the two sides. The crew, represented by Shisao, and the mercenary, represented by Zhonggu, Sandao, and the others, had already fought before. The conflict was very deep, and they were wary of each other. They had never truly trusted each other. If Jinjin forcefully took them in, there would definitely be a lot of internal conflict. This would reduce his authority and affect his energy. If the conflict was not handled properly, it would lead to even worse changes. If it was not handled properly, Zhonggu would have a real chance. Only by letting these people in the mercenary group be disappointed in Jinjin, Zhonggu would have a chance to truly bind them to him. However, Jinjin adopted Song Su's system and did not give Zhonggu this chance. With such a system, Jinjin's side also grasped the key production technology. It could be said that they completely had the upper hand. Fair? There was never true fairness. Grasping the production technology, using the crossbows and potions to exchange for the precious production materials, it was still set by ZD. This in itself contained a lot of profits. When Zhonggu first exchanged, the exploitation had already begun. If this continued, using the exchange system, Jinjin's side could easily obtain the greatest benefits. For example, the battle between the straining crossbow and the straining crossbow. Jinjin's side grasped the more powerful straining crossbow, and in terms of long-range combat power, they began to suppress Zhongji's side. If they continued to use it, they could easily make the former members of the mercenary group shed tears of gratitude in private. For example, according to the exchange list, you can only exchange for 2 bottles of potions. I see that you like it, so I secretly give you an extra bottle. Are you happy? With this initiative, Jinjin did not even need to personally participate to attract people's hearts. If this continued, Zhonggu would become a loner. It was not that Zhonggu could not see clearly, nor was it that he did not understand, but that he had no other choice. There was the threat of the blue dog fox wolf nearby, and the enemy was in front of them. There was the need to escape from the island far away, and there was the need for crew to control the ship. Zhonggu knew that they had to cooperate. Since they had to cooperate, the means of struggle were limited. Song Su's soft knife killed Zhonggu without spilling blood. Coupled with the map that Jinjin had taken out before, it was as if he had pushed Zhonggu into the abyss. The less cards he had, the more he was at a disadvantage. Zhonggu was already at a disadvantage, and now the disadvantage had worsened. Zhonggu could already see his defeat. No, as long as there is a breath left, Zhonggu, will not give up. I still have a chance. I am at the silver level, and I am only 1 step away from the gold level. If I can't even protect this group of people, how can I stand out and make a name for myself? How can I not let my father's expectations down and make him proud of me? The weak candlelight swayed in Zhongji's eyes and gradually turned into light and shadow. In the light and shadow, Zhonggu saw himself rampaging through the battlefield, and his achievements and glory continued to increase. In the light and shadow, Zhong saw himself returning to his hometown with glory, and returning to the castle where he had lived as a child with his head held high. This time, he didn't live in that dark and damp room. He was welcomed into the hall, and he participated in the ball. In the hall, there was a bright red carpet, crystal chandeliers, and long tables of delicious food. On the walls, there was a huge and exquisite tapestry, as well as priceless paintings. He sighed in his heart. He could finally set foot in this place. He became the star of the ball and the focus of countless socialites. After a dance, Zhongji's father, who had always maintained the appearance of a middle-aged castle master due to his powerful strength, stood up and raised a wine glass filled with red wine. Then Zhong heard his father's words echoing in the hall. "Now, I am honored to introduce Zhong to all of you. He is also my son." The candle burned out. The light and shadow dissipated. Zhong came back to his senses. In the dark tent, he stroked his arm. It was a layer of thick body hair, a characteristic of the beastmen, just like how he had experienced countless times in his life. This time, a sense of loss rose in Zhongji's heart. How good would it be if I was a pure blood? Chapter 117. The sun once again released its heat for the whole day and began to fall to the west. The vast forest gradually turned dark, and everyone's shadows were elongated by the setting sun, completely covering the deep pit in front of them. In the deep pit, a brown bear let out the last roar of its life. The roar was extremely weak, and immediately it fell into a pool of blood, no longer breathing. Its body was almost full of arrows, and the deep pit was also a mess. Broken spikes and wooden stakes were everywhere, knocked over by the brown bear. The walls of the trap were not smooth. It was obvious that the brown bear had spent a lot of effort to climb out. Bang! Zhong was the first to jump down. He bent down to check the state of the brown bear, and after confirming that it was completely dead, he asked his subordinates to come down and deal with it. The blood was also collected and could be exchanged for supplies, so it could not be wasted. The whole bear was too big, so it had to be dismembered. Every part of the body was tied with a hemp rope, and the people around the trap pulled it up. After about half an hour, the brown bear's body was dealt with. Zhong led the team back to the camp. In addition to the 4 brown bears, several monkeys, squirrels, and snakes, there was also the body of a half-elf. After killing a brown bear, the half-elf was the first to jump into the deep pit, wanting to harvest the bear's body. In the end, the bear was not completely dead but fainted. After being awakened by the pain, it slapped half of the half-elf's waist and kidney to pieces. With such heavy injuries, and without divine spells or magic, the half-elf was completely dead after a few breaths. From then on, Zhong was the first to jump into the trap and personally check the condition of the brown bear. The afterglow of the setting sun shone on the whole team. The team returned with a full load, and although one of their companions died, everyone's face was filled with the joy of the harvest. They talked and laughed all the way back. They were once members of a mercenary group, so they were indifferent to the death of their companions and themselves. Some people were even happy for the half-elf. This guy finally did not have to suffer on this damn island. Zhong walked at the front of the team, still cautious, concentrating on investigating and guarding against possible sneak attacks. Sandao walked up from the middle of the group. He took a few quick steps and rushed to Zhongji's side. He took out a map from his bosom and said, "Sir, there are not many bears left. I think we'd better get rid of them tomorrow. By marching like this, we can reduce the consumption of time and energy to the greatest extent." Zhong glanced at the map and saw Sandao's finger drawing on the map. He knew that the route that Sandao came up with was no different from what he had envisioned. As for the map, Zhong had already memorized it. This was an excellent tactical accomplishment that he had cultivated in the army. Sandao said worriedly, "After killing the last 3 brown bears, we'll have to think about what to target next. My lord, I don't think we should touch the flying squirrel for the time being." The flying squirrel was very small, and its archery skills were not very reliable. Most of us are better at close combat, but the magical beast-level flying squirrel can discharge electricity, which is too much of a counter to us. My lord, what do you think of the crocodile hammertail viper? According to the exchange list, one crocodile hammertail viper is worth almost 2 brown bears. Zongu shook his head slightly. When he encountered the crocodile hammertail viper before, it was very difficult for him to win. Its skin is very thick, and most of our arrows are either made of wood or bone. Iron arrows are very rare, and only iron arrows can cause damage to the crocodile hammertail viper. If we really have to deal with the crocodile hammertail viper, I can't directly restrain it. The deep pit also won't restrict the crocodile hammertail viper from climbing. Zongu explained a reason. Then, our next target will be the bat monkeys. This is also Zhun Jin's target. According to the exchange list, the bat monkeys aren't worth much, but there are a lot of them. In the forest near the camp, the bat monkeys are the most common wild beasts. But if we do that, we'll have to compete with Zhun Jin's group for the bat monkeys. In terms of archery, we're not as good as them. Sandao analyzed for a while. His vision was accurate, and he had an accurate assessment of the strength of both sides. Zhun Jin's side had stronger long-range firepower, and Zhun Jin was a very powerful archer with a crossbow. The rest of the crew members had all practiced archery on a daily basis. After all, on a ship, cannons and crossbows were all conventional weapons. Sandao rolled up the map and stuffed it back into his clothes, then took out the exchange list. Ever since he got this list, he had been thinking about it when he had nothing to do. Sandao was a gnome, and even if he was honest, his race's shrewdness didn't disappear. He used to be the leader of the Sandao mercenary group, so he knew the value of oil, rice, salt, and sugar. Sir, I've analyzed it. Now that our crossbows have been replaced with a new arm crossbow, our hunting efficiency has increased a lot. The other crossbows are cheaper, and it's not worth it for us to exchange for arm crossbows in a short period of time. Replacing the arm crossbows early is a waste. What we need the most now are the iron head arrows. The production of iron has always been low, so I suggest that we exchange all the iron head arrows in the inventory today, and then exchange for other supplies. Zonga nodded and patted Sandao's shoulder. Good. Your analysis is good. Let's follow this plan. After receiving Zongji's approval and affirmation, Sandao's eyes flashed with joy. However, even though their plan was perfect, when they arrived at the camp to exchange, they were told that the iron head arrows had already been bought by Jinjin. They came back earlier. They came back and exchanged. Fat Tongue was in charge of the exchange. Last time, it was the arm crossbow. This time, it's the iron head arrows. This won't do. Why can't we exchange for the most valuable supplies every time? Sandao was very angry. You could have come back earlier, Fat Tongue said. Sandao sneered. The reason why we came back late is because we spent time clearing out the supplies. Look, this is our harvest today, a total of 4 monkey-tail brown bears. We hunted so many silver-ranked magical beasts. Not only did we put in effort, but also the life of one of our members. In the end, because of the delay in time, we couldn't get the supplies we wanted. Do you think this is reasonable? Is this fair? I remember that the Holy Knight Lord Jinjin once promised to be fair to us. But now this is not fair at all. Wait, what is that? Sandao's eyes were sharp as he saw Baya holding an iron cage, walking past the tent in the distance. Sandao immediately rushed in front of Baya, his eyes wide open, full of anger. A cage made of iron? I really didn't see it wrong. Can someone explain it to me? The production of iron has always been very small. Is this how you use iron? We want the iron head arrows, but you use it to make a cage. Do you know how many iron head arrows can be made with this? Baya's path was blocked by Sandao, and he looked at the goblin in front of him. Although the goblin's cultivation was at the dark iron level, Baya was not afraid. He held the iron cage and looked down at the goblin from his height. Lord Sandao, this iron cage is much more useful than you think. Oh, kid, I like to see what good excuse you can find. Sandao crossed his arms and sneered. Baya smiled. It seems that you still don't know. Just last night, Lord Jinjin received a message from the gods behind the night patrol. He bravely went into the forest at night alone and found the silverback monkey that had escaped and killed the flying squirrels in the middle of the night. Lord Jinjin killed the silverback monkey and wiped out the largest group of flying squirrels in the camp, bringing back many unconscious flying squirrels. This iron cage is used to imprison the black iron flying squirrels and bronze flying squirrels. With these living flying squirrels, Lady ZD can keep experimenting, and the hope of creating a potion against the flying squirrels will greatly increase. We should all know that with our current methods and strength, it is very risky to wipe out the flying squirrels. What? Sandao and the others were shocked. Even Zhong Ji's pupil shrank. It was indeed their first time hearing this news. They were all veterans, and they knew that Lord Jun Jin's new achievements were greater than the 4 monkey-tail bears. The 4 monkey-tail bears were easy to deal with, but it was not easy to get rid of the silverback monkey and the largest group of flying squirrels. Did the Shengming Heavenly Emperor instruct Master Jinjin again? He's too lucky. Templar Knight, this is not luck. Who dares to roam the forest alone? The territory of that flying squirrel group is very far from the camp. It seems like he took advantage of them, but it was actually very difficult. The silverback monkey's injuries were not serious. Lord Jinjin is really brave. Everyone started discussing. The smile on Baiya's face became even wider, and he gradually raised his head, although Baiya had heard this kind of discussion many times. The whole day, everyone in the camp was talking about Zhang Jin's achievements, and there was no one who did not praise him. Now, when Baiya heard these people's comments, he still felt proud, honored, and happy. This is the Lord Zhang Jin I follow. Zhonggu was silent. His hands subconsciously stroked the handle of the hammer on his back, and he secretly made a decision. I can't continue like this. I have to fight Jinjin as soon as possible. This is a holy duel. The Templar Knight will not have any reason to refuse me. Chapter 118. Tonight's forest was unusual. The roars of a bear could be heard continuously. A brown bear lived on this hill all year round and was the overlord of this area. But now, its roars revealed obvious anxiety, anger, and pain. What kind of ferocious beast could make the brown bear cry out continuously? What kind of ferocious beast was it facing? As if aware of the threat, the beasts near the cave were disturbed by the roars and fled, trying to stay as far away from the cave as possible. At this moment, the one making things difficult for the brown bear was a monster. It had the body and wings of a silverback monkey, but its head and neck were from a black iron-ranked acid green lizard. This made the monster look uncoordinated, as it had a big head and a small body. The monster spread its wings and flew in the air, circling above the brown bear's head. From time to time, it would open its mouth and roll out a round lump from the skin on its neck. When the round lump slid into its mouth, the monster opened its mouth and spat out a stream of acid. The acid was extremely accurate, and it even took into account the amount of time taken into consideration. Even if the brown bear on the ground tried to dodge, it was still hit. The acid had already corroded most of its fur, causing its injuries to worsen. The brown bear was extremely angry. The front part of its gorilla-like palm was already red. Back then, Jin Jun had used this pair of sharp claws to kill a silver-level blade spider. Normally, the claws were like black iron, and they were very sharp and hard. When the brown bear encountered a strong enemy and was extremely angry, its black claws would turn red and emit a high heat, as if it had just been taken out from an iron furnace. At this time, the claws were extremely powerful. Jinjin had already tried it himself, and even the silver scorpion shell could not block it. One must know that the silver scorpion shell could block the silver spider's blade. However, no matter how powerful the claws were, it was useless if they could not reach Jinjin. That's right, this lizard head, that monkey body monster was Jinjin. The brown bear had a huge body and a heavy body. It was difficult for it to even jump, let alone fly. Otherwise, Zhongji's strategy would not have been so fruitful. The brown monkey-tailed bear couldn't hit Jinjin. Every mouthful of acid from Jinjin was able to inflict more damage on the brown monkey-tailed bear. The outcome of this lopsided battle had been decided from the very beginning. The brown monkey-tailed bear went from anger to powerlessness, from hatred to fear. The heavy injury made it unable to stand up and roar at Jinjin. Instead, it turned around and fled into the cave. Jinjin had been observing the state of the monkey-tailed brown bear. As soon as the monkey-tailed brown bear turned around, he understood its intention. He immediately flapped his wings and swooped down. When Jinjin was close to the brown bear, a red light suddenly flashed behind him and a spear scorpion tail grew out. The silver spear tail pierced through the monkey-tailed brown bear's head from behind. Jinjin pulled out his tail and immediately brought out a mixture of blood and brain juice. Because Jinjin's movement was too fast, the monkey-tailed brown bear did not seem to notice. It ran forward for more than 10 steps and suddenly fell to the ground with a plop. It rubbed forward for a short distance and raised a small cloud of dust. Zongu spent a lot of effort to lead a group of people. First, they dug a hole. Then, they took the risk to lure the enemy and shot them. Jinjin used only 1/10 of the time, Zongu and the others, to easily eliminate a monkey-tailed brown bear. Multiple changes, the power is really strong. When a monkey-tailed brown bear faces the silverbat monkey, at most, the sound wave attack will make it irritable and disgusted. If the silverbat monkey really wants to deal with the monkey-tailed brown bear, it will have to fight in close combat and use its claws to scratch. At that time, it will definitely be taught a lesson by the monkey-tailed brown bear. When the acid green lizard faces the monkey-tailed brown bear, it can only spit a few mouthfuls of acid at the beginning of the battle. The monkey-tailed brown bear's running speed is very fast, much faster than the green lizard. Even if the green lizard shoots while running, the monkey-tailed brown bear will quickly catch up. At that time, the acid green lizard will pay the price with its life. However, when the bat monkey and green lizard mutated together, the monkey-tailed brown bear will not be able to fight back. With the addition of the scorpion tail, any monkey-tailed brown bear will not be my opponent in a one-on-one fight. Jinjin landed on the ground full of emotions. After these days of hard training, Jinjin began to dig out the battle potential of the heart core. Through the many battles, he felt more and more the power and wonderful use of the multiple changes. Jinjin stepped on the monkey-tailed brown bear's head. This silver magical beast almost killed Jinjin when it was heavily injured. Now, in its complete state, not a single hair of the needle gold was harmed. In the next moment, the heart core was activated by Jinjin. 4 red lines appeared and tied up the monkey-tailed brown bear. Immediately after, they refined the monkey-tailed brown bear's bloodline essence and returned to Jinjin's heart core. This is enough. Jinjin's body surged with red light again. When the red light dissipated, he was no longer in his bat monkey form, but turned into a monkey-tailed brown bear. Jinjin could already mutate bear claws and arms, and he had obtained a lot of bear meat these days. This was all thanks to the contributions of Zongu and the others. In addition, he was now a fully transformed silver brown bear, and finally reached the standard of a complete mutation. Looking at his own palm and then at his fleshy chest, Jinjin was once again enveloped by a strange feeling. Jinjin stood up, and his vision immediately increased. Whether it was smell, hearing, or vision, they were all very sensitive, but their sense of smell was not as good as the blue dog fox wolf's nose. Their hearing was not as good as the bat monkey or the flying squirrels, and their vision was not as good as the crocodile hammertail mantis. But how should he put it? Overall, the monkey-tailed brown bear's 3 senses were combined, and its insight into the outside world was still very strong. The bat monkey and the flying squirrel's vision was not as good, and the crocodile hammertail mantis' hearing was even worse. In terms of smell, the monkey-tailed brown bear was second only to the blue dog fox wolf. The spear scorpion and the green lizard were all below it. The monkey-tailed brown bear's most powerful weapon is its 8 sharp claws. Jinjin focused on his fingernails. Soon, his black iron-like nails turned red and hot. Speaking of this ability, Jean Jean had to thank the blade spider that almost killed him that day. Under the stimulation of life and death, Jean Jean subconsciously used the brown bear's claws, and this feeling was engraved in his heart. Therefore, it was very easy for him to use the golden needle again. But if one really looked at it deeply, this change in the claws was as difficult as the flying squirrel's electric discharge. A human's fingernails would never have this kind of change. This kind of ability was completely foreign to a normal person. Jean Jean still could not discharge electricity, but using these claws was a walk in the park. Let's try mining. Jean Jean canceled his standing state and crawled forward on all fours. He had experience in the green lizard form and was very familiar with how to chase and run on both legs. The brown bear's hind legs are thick and short, and it's very difficult to run in a standing state. It's most suitable to run on all fours. Jean Jean quickly got used to the monkey-tail brown bear form. He came to the cave and used his claws to dig the walls, digging out ores to eat. The taste is not bad. After eating the ores, Jean Jean felt that he had bitten into a piece of fat and lean meat. It was fragrant, sweet, and soft. The meat was not barbecued but cooked in a sauce. According to the eastern part of the empire, it was called braising. It turns out that the monkey-tail brown bear eats ores like meat. Jean Jean had a good taste of the delicious meal. Usually, although he was full in the camp, the meat soup lacked salt and other seasonings, and the taste was quite bland. Song Su dissected the monkey-tail brown bear and found that its digestive ability is very outstanding, especially at digesting iron. The monkey-tail brown bear's claws are also biological iron after absorbing iron. I remember that Song Su also said that the monkey-tailed brown bear's digestive and absorbing ability can even treat iron swords as food. Jean Jin's heart skipped a beat when he thought of this. After I go back, I can secretly try it. I wonder what iron swords and iron sabers taste like. In his human form, Jean Jin could only use iron swords and iron sabers as weapons. However, Jean Jin could treat the monkey-tail brown bear as some kind of food. When Jean Jin's life form constantly changed, his perspective and feelings also changed accordingly. Some changes were so quiet that even Jean Jin could not detect them. Some changes were earth-shattering. Jin made his claws red and hot again. He used his claws in this state to dig the wall of the cave. The hard walls of the cave appeared to be quite soft. With a light poke of the golden needle, the entire finger could be submerged into the cave wall. With a light stir, he could dig out a large piece of ore. Next, let's try the healing effect of the ores. A scorpion tail grew out of Jean Jin's fat bear buttocks. He used the scorpion tail to poke himself, and soon a small bloody hole was poked out. Jean Jin began to eat the ores in big mouthfuls, and the bloody hole quickly stopped bleeding. Jean Jin carefully observed and felt that the ores were digested in his stomach, turning into a warm current that flowed into the wound. His pain immediately weakened, and with the passage of time, Jean Jin's wound gradually formed a thin layer of blood scab. The monkey-tailed brown bear's digestive system is very strong. It can quickly digest the ores it eats, and the nutrients are specifically concentrated on the body's wounds, promoting the rapid recovery of the wounds. But in terms of recovery ability, it is still not as good as the strong white rhinoceros. The strong white rhinoceros's recovery ability was not only stronger, but also more practical. The monkey-tailed brown bear relied on eating a lot to heal, and it needed specific ores. But the strong white rhinoceros would eat a lot of nutrients after healing, and the food it ate was more common grass, leaves, fruits, and so on. Jean Jin stayed in the cave for a while, and used his claws to easily dig out a large number of ores. Now that there's a shortage of iron, mining in the monkey-tail brown bear form is too easy. The whole cave was dug out. My work efficiency alone is comparable to that of 100 people. Bring people to get these ores tomorrow. The camp has always been short of iron. As for the excuse, Jean Jin did not need to think about it. Song Su would definitely guess that perhaps the monkey-tailed brown bear had a habit of storing food. This might be a flaw, But as long as Jinjin did not transform in front of them, Song-Su could only suspect that this monkey-tailed brown bear might be a special weirdo. And the team's top priority was to get more iron. When it was almost time, Jinjin left the cave, transformed back into the silver bat monkey, and flew back to the camp. He was still thinking about the iron ores in his heart. Maybe I should take some time every night to secretly mine, hoard them, and find them all at once. My mining efficiency is too high. These days, ZD and Song-Su also plan to mine, but there is a shortage of manpower. At the same time, mining requires pickaxes, and there is simply not enough iron to make pickaxes. At this moment, Jinjin, who was flying, suddenly changed his expression. Chapter 119. It's the Blue Dog Fox Wolf's magical beast army. Jinjin turned into a bat monkey and flew in the dark, so he had to use ultrasonic detection. The silver bat monkey's ultrasonic detection range was as much as 2,000 meters. Now, Jinjin found a large number of bat monkeys and flying squirrels at the edge of the 2,000-meter detection range. He continued to detect and soon found large magical beasts such as brown monkey bears, crocodile-headed hammer-tailed centipedes, and so on entering his detection range. They're here. Actually, Jinjin had expected this moment, but when it really happened, his heart couldn't help but sink. What shocked Jinjin was that the magical beast army's marching route was very straight, and their target was very obvious. It was their camp. Can I disguise myself, get close to the Blue Dog Fox Wolf, and kill them? As soon as this thought flashed through his mind, Jinjin felt a warning in his mind. This was the intuition of an excellent warrior, and Jinjin had always believed in it. Ever since he woke up on the island, his intuition had never been wrong. Jinjin recalled the mournful howl of the Blue Dog Fox Wolf he killed before it died. It seems that this guy conveyed a lot of key information, not only my plan to lure the ambush and kill the leader, but also the location of the camp. Jinjin quickly returned to the key point, put on his clothes and equipment, and rushed back to the camp. When he reached the forest at the gate of the camp, he slowed down and walked out slowly to prevent the guards from shooting him by mistake. Lord Jinjin. The Lord Jinjin is back. When the guards saw Jinjin, they all shouted and saluted him. But the next moment, they heard Jinjin say, "Quick, 3 whistling arrows have been fired. Mobilize everyone. We're going to have a big battle." After a few breaths, the sharp sound of whistling arrows tore through the night. Most people woke up from their sleep. What's that sound? It sounds like whistling arrows. Then the whistle of a whistling arrow was heard. They immediately left their beds, quickly put on their equipment, and got out of their tents or wooden houses. At this time, they heard the sound of an arrow again. 3 whistling arrows signify that the most critical moment has arrived. Enemy. Where is the enemy? The crew in the camp was noisy, while the former mercenaries around Zhonggu were much quieter and orderly. Zhonggu walked out of the tent. It was troublesome for him to put on his steel armor. What happened? Sandao immediately came forward and replied, "The Lord Jinjin has returned from his night patrol with important military intelligence. Soon, the magical beast army would attack the camp. The Lord Jinjin asked us to move into the camp together and abandon this camp. We still have about 10 minutes. Zhonggu suppressed the doubts in his heart. He knew that Jinjin would not make such a joke. The majestic half-orc looked around and ordered loudly, "Immediately bring all your food, water, and equipment. Abandon all your tents and follow me into the camp." Mangu had been trained in the army and understood the value and significance of speed in the army. 10 minutes was not long, but it was actually very short, because Zhonggu and his group still had to enter the camp and cooperate with the crew to set up the defense. When Zhonggu, Sandao, and their group hurried to the camp, they saw Jinjin, she saw Heiwan, ZD, and Song-Su examining the map in the open space behind the camp gate. Seeing Zhonggu arrive, Jinjin nodded to him and took the initiative to explain, "When I was on night patrol, I received instructions from my lord. He told me that different types of beasts had gathered together and formed a huge threat that was coming from the northeast. I think, other than the blue dog fox wolf's magical beast army, there shouldn't be any other possibility. Zhongge did not have the slightest doubt, since it was the instructions of God. It must be true without a doubt. How big is the magical beast army? Zhongge continued to ask. That's all God's instructions. I'm not sure. Zhen Jin shook his head and frowned, but I'm guessing that since the magical beast army is heading straight for the camp, the blue dog fox wolf's howl before it died must have left enough information. If that's the case, according to the intelligence of the blue dog fox wolf, it would never make the decision to attack alone. This time, we're most likely facing two blue dog fox wolf and a huge magical beast army at the same time. Zhen Jin did not investigate clearly, because when he discovered the traces of the magical beast army, he immediately flew through the forest at his fastest speed and rushed back to the camp to report. When he arrived at the camp, Zhen Jin had been busy and did not have time to investigate again. Zhongge and the others nodded, agreeing with Zhen Jin's guess and did not suspect anything. After all, the instructions of the gods were often vague and even full of hidden meanings. It was rare for Zhen Jin to be able to get such a clear god's instruction. ZD saw that the atmosphere was gloomy and said, "Fortunately, we have already studied how to guard against the attacks of the magical beast army and have practiced several times over the past few days." Because of this, when Zhongge and the others arrived, the camp guards immediately opened the gate of the camp and did not need to report and waste a lot of precious time. At the same time, Zhongge and the others and the crew worked together to station the camp, and it was very smooth and practiced. Zhongge was still worried. Our practice is based on old intelligence. If the magical beast army adds new magical beasts, the kind that we have not seen before, I'm afraid that because of these new species of magical beasts, the whole battle situation will be ruined. Zhen Jin knew that Zhong Ji's words were reasonable. He thought secretly, it seems that the previous investigation did not see any new species of magical beasts. But later, when no one is paying attention, we still have to secretly try to detect with ultrasound. Shi Suo listened to Zhong Ji's words and sneered. When marching to war, who can know the most complete information about the enemy? It is already very good that we are able to prepare to this extent, thanks to Lord Zhen Jin. Are you still not satisfied? Hei Wan added, this kind of defense is already very good. Don't forget, we even have a reserve team. If it is really not possible, we will break out according to the original plan. It is also possible to give up the camp. Zhongge frowned slightly, but did not say anything. Giving up the camp, for everyone, was a choice that they would make as a last resort. Building the camp consumed a lot of everyone's time and labor, and they paid a huge price to clear out the surrounding beasts. But now, it was not time for everyone to reap the rewards. Most of the wood they gathered was used to build the camp and make crossbows. They also needed a lot of wood to make ships. The current camp, after being greatly renovated and built by everyone, was very different from when Zhen Jin first saw it. The original wooden fence had completely disappeared and was replaced by a wooden wall. This kind of wall was completely made of tree trunks. First, a similar tree trunk was chosen. The bark was cut off, the roots of the trunk were burned with fire, and then inserted deep into the soil. The exposed tree trunks were arranged closely together, and at the same time, they were fixed with hemp rope, forming a tall wooden wall. The front and back of the wooden wall were built in 2 rows, with wooden planks in between to form a footboard for people to walk on. Behind the wooden wall, there was a large wooden ladder for a large number of people to go up and down, and at the same time, it was used to support the wooden wall. The biggest contributor to the construction of the wooden wall was the ship craftsman's adopted son, the big guy. The giant's bloodline gave him great strength, and coupled with his tall physique, he was a natural crane and pile driver, the biggest labor force in the camp. Even the traps and trenches outside the wooden wall were mainly dug by him. More and more bonfires were lit, and the dry wood piles were prepared long ago to prevent a night battle. The raging fire illuminated the camp as if it was daytime. Many beasts could see at night, but under normal circumstances, human eyes could not. Zhenjin stood at the front of the wooden wall, opened his mouth slightly, and quietly sent out ultrasonic waves. In terms of practicality, ultrasonic waves were better than lizard eyes. Because human ears could not hear ultrasonic waves, but lizard eyes could be seen by human eyes. Of course, this was also the result of Zhenjin's hard work. A human structure could not send out ultrasonic waves. Zhenjin secretly used his heart core to transform his lungs, trachea, and vocal cords into the structure of a silver bat monkey, and even the inside of his nasal cavity was not spared. But on the surface, there was no abnormality, and it was still the appearance of a human. Just like before, when he mutated into a lizard head and a bat monkey body, he bullied the monkey-tail brown bear to death. In fact, the real difficulty of this multiple mutation was the inside of the body. Zhenjin mutated the acid green lizard's poison bag and placed it in the bat monkey's chest. The bat monkey's chest originally had a pair of strong lungs, but in order to place the poison bag, Zhenjin directly removed one of the lungs, and this time he had enough space. Anyway, against the monkey-tail brown bear, the sound wave attack was very weak, so a bat monkey's lungs were enough. The results of the investigation were quickly reported to Zhenjin's mind. The magical beast army was very large, more than twice the size of the blue dog foxwolf that died before. Zhenjin also saw the familiar strong white rhinoceros. What made him secretly shocked was that there were not many bat monkeys in the magical beast army. Logically speaking, bat monkeys are the most commonly seen in this forest. But these two, blue dog foxwolf, did not take in these magical beasts, and instead chose to take in other species. Could it be that the blue dog foxwolf's last words also revealed that we have the ability to suppress the bat monkey's smoke? In this way, there was not much use for the smoke, and its combat value quickly decreased. Zidi's previous preparations also fell through. Zhenjin also noticed that there were many flying squirrels in the magical beast army, and their scale was the largest. This was very troublesome. The flying squirrels were small and agile, making it difficult to aim at them. The magical beast-level flying squirrels could also release electricity, and once they got close, the threat to humans would increase exponentially. More and more monkey-tail brown bears, crocodile-headed hammertail lions, and as many as 3 strong white rhinoceroses appeared. Zhenjin's frown deepened as he investigated. Wait a minute, they actually split up. In the next moment, Zhenjin's head trembled as he noticed an important military situation. The magical beast army split into 2 groups, one led by the 2 blue dog foxwolf. One of the larger groups was still heading straight for the main gate of the campsite. Although the other group was smaller in size, most of them were flying squirrels. Without the burden of the monkey-tail brown bears, this small group of magical beast army moved very quickly, and at the same time, they were very quiet. In an instant, they became a group of people that were hiding in ambush. We need to make corresponding adjustments to the defenses of the campsite as soon as possible. Before the battle even began, Zhenjin's forehead was already covered in cold sweat. Chapter 120. The blue dog fox wolf was too cunning, and their tactics were as sinister as ever. Damn it, what should we do? Zhenjin clenched his teeth. He couldn't directly warn the others, as that would definitely arouse suspicion. But if he didn't warn them, would he just watch the 2 blue dog foxwolf succeed? In the end, the enemy was strong and they were weak. In just a few days, the magical beast army had expanded to such an extent. Everyone had to do their best and not make any mistakes. Only then would they have a chance of winning. They're coming. On the wooden wall, she saw narrowed his eyes, and his mouth became dry. At night, the quiet forest became restless. The night birds flew around, and the snakes and rats retreated. Soon, the sound of the beasts galloping became more and more obvious. The bat monkeys screeched, the flying squirrels squeaked, the brown monkey bears roared, the crocodile-headed hammertail crocodiles roared. the deadly white rhinoceros galloped. These sounds mixed together like an invisible giant hammer, hammering everyone's morale. A crew member swallowed his saliva and held the crossbow tightly with both hands. His body trembled more and more. Whoosh! His fingers trembled as well, and he pulled the trigger and released an arrow. Once the arrow was released, the people around him immediately shot arrows as well, forming a sparse rain of arrows. The others were stunned. Shisuo reacted and immediately scolded. "What are you doing? Calm down, all of you calm down." The number of iron-headed arrows was limited and very precious. They wasted more than a dozen iron-headed arrows, which made the nervous crew members who shot the air feel ashamed, and many of them lower their heads. The members of the Sandow mercenary group didn't shoot arrows, but at this moment, their faces were tense, and they didn't have the slightest interest in stopping the crew members. The future was uncertain, just like the dark night in front of them. It was hard to say who would win or lose, and who would survive. For a moment, even Lan Zhao, Heiwan, and the others showed some uneasiness in their eyes. At this moment, everyone heard Jinjin's prayer. "O great Shengming Emperor, my God, my Lord, your knights will come to battle and will practice your teachings. By thy grace, I am armed to the teeth. I put on the belt of integrity, the breastplate of valor, the shoes of peace, and the helmet of salvation." However, the dark night was like a dense fog, blocking my vision. "God, please give me a pair of bright eyes. Let me see the enemy clearly. Let me lead everyone to victory." Unlike before, Zheng Jin prayed openly this time. His voice was very loud, and many people heard it clearly. Everyone cast expectant gazes at Zheng Jin. However, after a dozen breaths, Zheng Jin was still the same as before. No holy light descended upon him. What happened? Did you fail? Could it be that even God is not optimistic about our battle? Everyone's heart was in a mess. Damn it. Zonga couldn't help but curse in his heart. He knew more inside information. Not everyone could pray successfully, and God could not watch over everyone at the same time. As he said this, the Shengming Emperor's gaze stopped on every temple knight. This was true, but there were 9 regiments of temple knights, and each regiment had thousands to tens of thousands of members. The prayers of the temple knights before a battle, and every time the Shengming Emperor cast a divine spell, there were historical records. Basically, there was at least a regiment of temple knights praying together with one or more temple knights presiding over the prayers. They were facing a battle of at least tens of thousands of people, or an extremely crucial battle of the entire battle. Apart from this, under normal circumstances, divine spells were cast by priests, bishops, or army priests. It was impossible for every temple knight to receive a response from the Shengming Emperor in all their battles, including duels and duels. In fact, the death of a temple knight was nothing to the Shengming Emperor. He was a living god, and also the emperor, in charge of the entire human empire. The empire had once lost the entire 5th Temple Knight Regiment, but it was quickly rebuilt in a few years. Therefore, it was not a big deal for a temple knight to not receive a response before a battle. Or rather, it was very normal and very possible. But the general public did not know. Now that everyone saw that Zheng Jin's prayers were not answered, it was natural for them to become more flustered. He's still young after all. His battle experience is too little. Just when Zhonggu thought that Zheng Jin had made a mistake, Zheng Jin's whole body suddenly trembled, and he opened his tightly shut eyes, letting out a cry of surprise and surprise. I saw it. Everyone was stunned. Zheng Jin immediately turned around and commanded everyone, "Quick! There are 2 blue dog fox wolf in the magical beast army. Now they've split up. One is leading a large army straight to the camp gate. The other is leading a group of flying squirrels to circle around and attack the side of our camp." Everyone was stunned. Then, Zheng Jin described in detail the composition of the 2 enemy forces, how many monkey-tail brown bears, how many crocodile-headed hammertail wolves, how many bat monkeys, and so on. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. Zheng Jin described in such detail, it must be true. As a temple knight, It was impossible for him to lie in the name of God at such a critical juncture, because it would not benefit him at all, and it would be very easy to be exposed. Did the prayer really succeed? Zongu exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and sighed. This needle is really lucky. Is the blue dog fox wolf really a magical beast? They actually split up. Too cunning. We have received a revelation from the Shengming Emperor, which means that this battle is blessed by God. We will definitely win. In an instant, morale soared. Finally, the magical beast army in front rushed out of the forest and into everyone's line of sight. Quick, look, it's the same as what Lord Jinjin said. That's right, there are so many magical beasts. We will definitely win. Brothers, the gods are watching over us. If not for Jinjin's warning, everyone would inevitably feel fear, shock, and other negative emotions when they suddenly saw such a large-scale magical beast army. But now that Jinjin had laid the groundwork in advance, everyone counted the number of magical beasts, and their morale soared. With God watching over them, everyone was full of confidence. Not to mention the magical beast army. They would not be afraid, even if they were facing a large tribe of orcs with 10,000 people. The magical beast army did not have the intention to reorganize their formation. Once they rushed out of the forest, they exploded with their maximum speed and rushed straight for the camp gate. Unless it was a castle, the gate of such a wooden camp was usually the weakest part. Ready, fire! Shisuo roared. Bows and crossbows fired together, and arrows flew out, forming a thin layer of rain. Under the rain of arrows, many bat monkeys and flying squirrels died. The monkey-tailed brown bear, strong white rhinoceros, and the others were also shot, but they continued to charge forward, and their speed even increased a little. The injuries and pain had aroused their ferocity. Everyone was very methodical in their shooting. They did not treat the large magical beasts as their main targets, but first eliminated the beasts that could fly. The bat monkeys received the most attention, followed by the flying squirrels. The newly made bows and iron head arrows caused the bat monkeys and flying squirrels to suffer a lot of casualties. The blue dog fox wolf lived in the forest, hiding in the dark and indifferent. There were not many bat monkeys that were subdued to begin with, and with the interference of the thick smoke, they were not of much use. Most of the elite flying squirrels were taken away by the other blue dog fox wolf, and they were just cannon fodder. In short, they attracted the firepower and played their role. The ones that they really had high hopes for were the large magical beasts that were running on the ground. However, the flat ground in front of the camp gate was not empty. Horses and wooden stakes were set up in a circle around the camp, and there were also large stones that were moved by the big guys. The strong white rhinoceros, monkey-tail brown bear, crocodile head hammertail centipede, and crocodile head hammertail centipede charged forward, smashing all the obstacles in their way, but their charging speed was inevitably reduced by a lot. After charging through the obstacles, they came to the trap area. Smoke and dust flew everywhere, and the trap cover that could support a normal person's walking definitely could not support the weight of the monkey-tail brown bear. Not to mention the heavier strong white rhinoceros and crocodile head hammertail centipede. Thus, the large magical beasts fell into the deep pit one after another. Taking into account the human-like intelligence of the blue dog fox wolf, everyone had already set up the most concentrated traps and obstacles at the weakest point of the camp gate. The monkey-tailed brown bear and strong white rhinoceros were unable to escape for a while, but the crocodile head hammertail centipede climbed out of the pit wall. Their bodies were too large, and there were often several magical beasts that fell into the pit. The most magical beasts fell into the pit at the front. These magical beasts overlapped with each other, and a few monkey-tailed brown bears gradually climbed up. The people on the wooden wall began to change their firepower and used all their strength to suppress the magical beasts in the trap. There was still a crocodile head hammertail centipede with the largest body and the thickest skin that rushed to the bottom of the wooden wall. It held its head high and actually climbed up the wooden wall, and its huge crocodile head rose to the same height as everyone. I was waiting for you. Zongus neared. He had been prepared for a long time, and when he saw the crocodile head appear, he held the wooden handle tightly with both hands and swung the giant hammer with all his strength. The white-boned giant hammer violently swept across, stirring up a gust of wind. Bang! The giant hammer ruthlessly hit the crocodile's head, and the crocodile head hammertail centipede was stunned by the heavy hammer. Its body went limp, and like a siege ladder, it fell to the ground with a loud bang, and the wooden wall shook violently along with the ground. Everyone did not have time to cheer, because another 3 silver magical beasts rushed in front of them. 2 monkey-tailed brown bears, and 1 strong white rhinoceros. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 sharp arrows flew out, accurately hitting the eyes of the 3 magical beasts. Everyone quickly looked over and saw Jean passing the crossbow to the back. There were 2 people behind him. These 2 people were injured, and their fighting strength was limited, but they did not do anything else and only aimed at Jinjin. Jinjin had just shot 3 crossbows in a row. The 2 monkey-tailed brown bears fell to the ground, their palms pulling on the arrow shafts in their eye sockets, and they screamed in pain. The strong white rhinoceros was very patient. Even if its left eye was shot blind, it still charged forward. But it might not have been able to adapt to the change in its field of vision, or, because of the intense pain, its originally straight charging path was too easy, and in the end it plunged into the body of the crocodile head hammertail centipede from before. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.